Roblox. So I'm currently doing my advanced before Roblox, and this is where that will serve as something that will be done on site because I feel like a lot of the advanced so this is going to be the part that will a jump on capture what will be doing inside. Your name, you actually can inside of users, and that's also the representation that's what we're going to do. I understand that. Let's start copy over to each player whenever actually put content of UI inside. Show on screen. You have to look at that, and as you see, Roblox has inserted a go on the right side, go to players, our player, and we can see that there's a full player GUI folder. And so we're working with list down our GUI. And now go to the game, I can explain what happens. So go to the game, and as you see, our table is on our screen. If you go on the right side, go to players, our player, and we can see that there's a folder here, which I'm going to use. This is the player GUI. This is essentially where everything that we create inside our GUI goes into. So we can see there's two GUIs, so free and some Roblox is created. But then we can see that our main GUI is here inside our player GUI folder. So we're working with manipulating GUI elements. It's highly advised to do it inside our GUI and not inside our GUI. Because let's for example want to delete this GUI. If we delete it inside our GUI, then happens. That's because it's just a GUI folder where whatever's inside our GUI folder is copied over to the place. But that has no effect. If you go to our player GUI folder and delete the GUI, then it actually does get rid of it from our place. So that's what we need to take note as we manipulate GUI elements on this guide. So for the rest of this tutorial, I'm going to introduce some very commonly used properties for screen GUIs. And then for the next upcoming episode, I'm going to be talking about more of these text labels and buttons in grid video. So let's go to our main GUI. And we can see we have properties here. I'm going to introduce these four of them because I know before I'm going to introduce are very commonly used. So the four that I'm going to introduce are display, enable, ignore GUI instead, and reset and so on. Let's go to enable first because I think this is the most self-explanatory one. So basically, this is whether or not this should be displayed or not. If we click on it, then I can see our text label disappear inside the game. So we no longer see any of the elements that are contained inside the GUI, which currently just only has this text label. So if we just click this again, then we should be able to see it right out again. Then yes, it does work all through the game. Yeah, for sure. On the right now, if we go to our regular GUI, we click on GUI and we press enable, then yeah, it's found it. So this is useful if you don't want to show specific GUI on screen after the game. I'm going to explain that crazy. The next part I'm going to introduce is ignore GUI instead. Now, I don't know why, for some reason, when we play Roblox game, there seems to be a little gap from our up here. The third property is reset on spawn. And so essentially by default, whenever a player joins the game and they reset their character, then whatever was manipulated with that player's GUI, it will revert back to the original state. So what originally was inside our GUI, it will then copy over to the player GUI every single time the player resets their character. So let me show you an example. So let's open up my player GUI, main GUI, and text label. Let's change the background color of this text label to let's say blue. So if I reset my character, then what should happen is that it gets reverted back to white because that was the original state of our text label inside our GUI. So whatever changes we made to main GUI, it's going to reset itself back to what it originally was. If we want to keep the changes, then we simply just uncheck the reset on spawn and go back to our game and make changes that we made to our text label by changing its color. Then we should be able to keep the display. There are cases where we're going to have multiple GUIs for organization purposes. So let's actually duplicate our main GUI by clicking duplicate. And let's call this screen GUI main GUI 2. And let's actually take this text label and just drag it down here a little bit. And let's also change the color of the text label to blue. Essentially what display order does is that it prioritizes what screen GUI will display over any of the other screen GUIs. So right now it looks like main GUI 2 is overlapping the first main GUI with the white text label. But if we change the display order of main GUI to something that's bigger than 1, we can actually see that our white text box, our main GUI, is now overlapping our second GUI. But if we do this again by making main GUI 2 display order something that's larger than the other one, display order 5 for example, then this will overlap the first one. I hope this makes sense, and if it does, then I'm glad you're getting a good feel for GUIs because it's something you'll use a lot inside your Roblox games. And so that's where I'm going to end off here with this tutorial. So we introduced GUIs and screen GUIs. But in this episode we're going to be hey, thanks for coming by. In this episode of my GUI tutorial on Roblox, we're going to go over text labels. So in the last episode, I brought introduction to GUIs and how they work on Roblox, and also a little bit about creating screen GUIs that are contained for our GUI objects we're going to implement inside our games. And with those screen GUI containers, I also added a text label to show text inside our game for each of the players on the screen. But in this episode, we'll go into these text labels and more about the properties that these text labels and really any of these GUI contain. And we'll also go a little bit of scripting so I can see how we change these properties just like we do with any other inside the game. So how we create GUI elements? Well, if you remember last episode, we created inside a folder called story GUI that's inside our story. We hit plus sign, and we first create a container for all these GUI elements called the screen GUI. So we'll do that. And let's call this main GUI. And then let's click plus sign here and let's just search for a text label. So text label like this, and on studio, we should be able to see on screen, we can click it, we can drag around, and we can change the size of it just like we want to. We can align to center or pretty much anywhere. It looks pretty boring and basic, but we're actually that by modifying a bunch of the properties that this text label has, and mostly for a lot of these GUI elements. So first things first, we have the background color of the text label, which is by default. And in order to change it, we go to right here, and we click on this property called background color 3. So what we do is we click this little box with color that's associated with it, and Roblox will bring up a panel that lets us select color for our background color. So this takes a reverse value and use the value to represent a color. And this is important to know when we start changing these colors to a script rather than using the panel that Roblox gives us. So let's change the color to orange, let's say. Let's hit OK. And as you see, the background color of this text label is now orange, and the numbers have also changed to that color as well. So now if we want to change the transparency of this frame, so we want to fully opaque, okay. The further along we go towards 1, the more invisible the background becomes. So if it becomes 1, then the background is at a border to the frame, a black border inside of the text label. And I think that's something 100, which looks like this. It's literally silly, but Roblox will allow you to do this, just like that, because that's 1 is back to 100. But let's just go back to 5. We can change the color of this border by selecting border color 3, clicking on the circular color again, and we can pick color. So we can pick, let's say, toothpaste. Okay, and now we see the color of the border has changed. So we go on, let's scroll down a little bit. We're going to go over the position rotation sizes because I have more to say about these. We'll go over this in here. So we might talk about individual elements, but I'm going to go over some properties right now. So another property is visible. This basically sets where you want this text label to show on the screen. So if I click it, then it'll just disappear. If I click again, then it will show. So that's self-explanatory. And the next property is z-index. So this basically acts the same way as if you go to 3 UI. This acts the same property as display order, in which if you go to text label, z-index essentially tells us which text label should be displayed first in front of the other text labels that belong to the same parent. So if I let's say have another text label here, both of them are related to main UI, the text label with the bigger z-index will show up in front of the other text labels. So let's just right click on text label and let's duplicate it. And we'll also rename these text labels to show some differentiation. So the first one, we'll call this text label 1, and then we'll call this one text label 2. And now for text label 2, let's just drag this down a little bit to the right as well. And let's also change the background color of this to, let's say, green. And so we demonstrate this property. Right now, text label 2 is in front of the first text label. But if we select the first text label and we change the z-index to a greater number, so let's say 2 for instance, then the first text label will actually appear in front of the second one. So by default, the z-index is 1, but you can increase the number to have high priority on which ones will show in front of the others. So that's something to know about. And the last category we'll talk about down here is text category. So you can see the link here, it's kind of hard to read and pretty small. There's a lot of things you can do to change that. So first is font. It was just font based. If we click this, there's a drop down of all these different fonts that we choose from. So let's pick, let's say, permanent marker. We can change the style of it. How do we say Roblox instead? You can still see it, but it is a little hard to read. So in order to make it bigger, you change the text size. So we do that by going over here down to text size, and it's right now text size. We can use white instead. And, okay. Now see, if we also want to add an outline to the text because it is a little hard to read, then what we can do is we can add a text stroke. And so we do that. If I go on the right side, there's going to be a property called text stroke transparency. Remember what I said about transparency properties is that it's either value between 0 and 1, 1 being transparent and 0 being opaque. So by default, the text stroke is 1. What we do is we can click this, and you can slide this down to 0. So we can see there's a little outline there. And you can change the text stroke color if we want to. By going to text stroke color 3 and change it to some random color green. So these are some properties of the text label. And gradually over time, before we go on through this tutorial, we're going to be exposed to all the properties here. The more we work with GUI inside the game. But right now, these are just some of the properties we work with. Alright, now let's practice. There's a very common use case for text labels, and that is currency. So when you play Roblox game, there's usually going to be a label that shows coins or any other currency you have in the game, and it'll show text with a number on it that changes with your actual currency. And so if you ever use this, and you can follow what I do in this episode, because I know that I want you to take away that these things actually have practical use. And I know they're very cool to show what these things can do very early on. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to firstly text label 2 because we don't use anymore, and we'll also make modifications to text label 1. So first thing we're going to do is rename this. So we're going to we're going to call this currency label. And down here, let's change the font to something a little nicer. Let's get highway dollar. So that currency will be a little more readable. And now we'll do. We're going to create a label script, and we're going to do that by creating script inside search. So we'll plus sign script like this. And first we're going to make a player added. So say game.players.player added connect function, and then parentheses we'll put player argument. So we're going to create a leader stats folder by saying local leader stats equals instance value. In quotations we'll say int value. We will set the parent of the leader stats to the player, and then we'll rename the leader stats folder to simply leader stats in all lowercase. And then sorry, instance value folder, not in value, because we're going to get that here coins. So we're going to say local coins equals instance value int value, and we will set the coins parent to leader stats, and then we will set the name of coins to simply coins. So that's our basic leader stats script. So with that, now what we're going to do is insert a local script. So go back to the game. Let's insert a local script inside our main GUI. It's very common to local script. So let's local script. The first thing we'll do is make reference to our local player. And what's great about using local script is that we can access our player with just one line. Because the local script is designed to be accessed for every single player, which is why it finds it very convenient. So we'll access the player by saying local player equals game.players.local player. And very important to note that this property can only use if this is inside a local script. This cannot be done inside a local script because the script doesn't know exactly what player you're talking about. But a local script can tell you exactly what player you're talking about. Because these script is that we can access our player with just one line. Because the local script is designed to be accessed for every single player, which is why it finds it very convenient. So we'll access the player by saying local player equals game.players.run on to access the coins value. So in our local script, we're going to outline and we're going to first access the leader stats by saying local leader stats equals player colon wait for child open parentheses leader stats. And then here we're going to access the coins by saying local coins equals leader stats wait for child coins. So now we access the coins in value, and that will make an event that basically triggers whenever the coins in value changes. We will then change the text of this text label here. So we're first going to make reference to our currency label saying local currency label equals script.parent.currency label, and then we're going to make the event that triggers whenever the coins in value gets changed. and this is done by saying coins.change connect function. Over to here. What we're going to do is we're going to change the text of the current label. So the text right here. So we're going to say current label dot text equals, and this new text is going to be the new value of coins, and we fetch this value by saying coins dot value. And so this is going to show right here. If you go to the game, you can actually see this change for ourselves. So we go to the game text template. What we'll do is that we're going to go to the server side by clicking on the current client and set cursor. We're going to open players, open our player, and go to the stats and coins. Let's change this property to 100. Let's go back to the game, and as you can see, the text label has changed its text whenever the coin value changed on the server. And for this is Roblox, so now it updated the text to what it was. So we go back to the server and change this to 10,000 or 100,000, what it is. It's 100,000. It updated just that. So this is one instance of using textables. I think where you have values that need to be updated during game runtime. So that's pretty much the episode on textables. There were properties like this, but that's because most of these UI elements share the same properties. So like I mentioned, gradually over time, we're going to be exposed to all these properties and doing content with actually using these properties and understanding how all of them work. So that's really the episode. Join us for the description, and I'll see you next. Hey, next episode of Roblox UI guide. We're going to go over text buttons. So let's say we're going over text labels and getting to know a little more about GUI properties. And this episode we're going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to introduce you to text buttons, and we're also going to be looking at more GUI properties. And we add scripts to these buttons to make them functional inside Roblox games. So first, what is a text button? It's basically like a text label, except you can interact with it by clicking lines. That's like the easiest way to describe it. So you know how with text labels, we're able to show them up on screen, and we're able to change text that was on the text labels and modify the script. But all we have to do is split them. There's no interactive part to the text label. But now when we have text label, we can actually interact with it by clicking. That's the first one. So we're going to create a text button is the same way we create a text label. We're going to first add a preview. And as you can see, just like the text label, it's shown on our screen. But there are two differences to this one. So the text says also nothing new there. And most of the properties here are very identical to text labels. So one thing about this is that all the properties are transferable. But now we'll go over more GUI properties that I haven't forget in store that. So the first property that's unique to text buttons is this property here called all button color. Basically what this does is you know how you can select the button and it changes the color of the button. All the properties are transferable. But now we'll go over more GUI properties that I haven't forget in store that. So the first property that's unique to text buttons is this property here called all button color. Basically what this does is you know how you can select the button and it changes the color of the button when you go over it. Roblox does this by default because this is an easy way for us to recognize is this element rather than text. But if we unselect it, then we won't be able to hover this button. It's not going to seem like we press this button. If you turn around, then we're going to be able to press this. And you can do this manually through scripting. But that's a lot of code that's very limited. You have to do this for every single text button, which is why we'll provide a simple check mark on the one that's property to enable. The rest of the properties in this episode will actually dive deeper into the text category. And the first thing I'll show you is this text scale. So in the last episode, I went over text size, which is basically the size of the text that's inside of our GUI element. So this little tiny text button, we can change the text size to something a lot bigger so we can actually see it. Now there are a couple issues with this text size property. If we change the size of the button, then it's not going to change the size of the text alongside it. So that's definitely an issue. So what we want to make so that Roblox will automatically scale the button's text size along with the size of the text one. We can do that with a property called text scale elements. And for most UIs that you create, I highly recommend turning on the text scale option. But you might ask, if you have text scale on, then what happens to text size? Well, text size is basically useless if you have text scale turned on, because if you try changing Roblox automatically scale to based on the size of the button. So like I mentioned, most of the time you have text scale on rather than text size because text size is very limited, and you definitely have to be very precise when using text size for text scale. It's just like, which is why I choose to. But most of the time I have text scale turned on rather than using the text size property. So the next property we have is text wrap. So let's just disable text scale really quickly so I can show you how this example works. And we'll take text size to something smaller than this box, like before. So text wrap is basically saying how do you want to handle the text whenever we have a size that's smaller than the text itself. So we scale this down. You can see Roblox is putting the text that used to be on the right side here down to the next line because it's not going to fit in the first line. So instead of just making it go off screen, it just simply put it down here. So that's essentially what text wrap is. But if you have text scale turned on, then you won't find any use with text wrap because Roblox automatically scale the button one. And the same thing can be said for the next property called text truncate. This is a very specific property that I don't use at all, but essentially what text wrap is. But if you have text scale turned on, then you won't find any use with text wrap because Roblox automatically scale the button one. And the same thing can be said for the next property called text truncate. This is a very specific property that I don't use at all, but if you want to know about this, the property I can also know about if you want to use it. So text truncate is similar to text wrap except this handles off-screen text differently than text wrap. Instead of having text drop next line, instead of what Roblox is going to do is that it's going to hide the text that's not showing on the button. But instead of placing it with dots, show there is more to the text. So what it is, we go right here and click drop down. You can see there's an option that says add end. If you press this and we disable text wrap and we scale down, you can see that Roblox has added three dots over here. Let us know that there is more text to be seen if we scale this one back. Again, it's very specific. I think some people know, but in case you want to use this, but I personally use this. So before and the last text properties we'll go over in this episode is text x line and text y line. So let's just scale this out and let's send this to center on the screen. So text x and text y line are basically properties that tell us where we want the text to be aligned on the text one. So right now in the very center of this on the right side. So if we click on the right side, text go on top and bottom will be text go on bottom. So we're just going to I no longer use this. We want to put text somewhere specific in your GUI elements. It's also something important to know. Alright, now let's get the component of this one. So let's quickly change text scale factor so I can see the text fully. I'm going to change the text size. So before that I want to introduce you. Starting with the first one. So what we're going to do is we'll go on the right side. Inside main GUI, we're going to plus sign and we're going to add an equal script. So let's do this. And the first thing we're going to GUI. So we're going to say global GUI equals script dot here, and we're going to refer to our text button by saying global button equals GUI dot button or text button to when we hover over this button. And we do this using a event called mouse enter. So we'll do that same template. Then what happens is that when our player mouse hovers over this button, then we should see the print statement down below. So we hover this, then we'll print and do whatever we want to do when we hover over this button. And we do this using a event called mouse enter. So we'll do that same one mouse enter connect function. And then we're going to draw a line here. And we're going to say print player has entered in the button. And so when we go to the it's template. Then what happens is that when our player mouse hovers over this button, then we should see the print statement down below. So we hover this, then it will print one time in the output saying player has entered in the button. If we hover again, then it will print it. Yeah, there's basically another event that comes. This is called mouse leave. So this is basically when the player enters in the mouse, then leaves the button after they enter in. So we do that by saying drop the line. Here by saying one dot mouse leave connect function. And we can do this here by saying player has left the button. And so this will fire whenever the player leaves the button after entering into the button. So mouse leave cannot fire until mouse enter fires first. Alright, so now there's two more events that I want to introduce you. So now we'll think of events that happen when we actually click on the button. And there's two ways to do this. So we're going to do that with our left mouse button or you're tapping on the iPad or you're using it here on Xbox or even on PlayStation. So we're going to do that using an event called mouse button one click. So this is what let's drop the lines down here. We're going to say one dot mouse button one click colon connect function. And so this is going to whenever we click on the button, but clicking also over to tap on the button or using right trigger on the button. So we'll say print button has been activated. So let's go to the name. So there should be three things happening with this one. So first thing is entering into the button. Entering into the button, letting go button. So just like going off screen on the button, it'll print both player button and also player button. If we also click on it, you can see that button has activated. So that seems to work out really well. So on PC, and this is only when I'm using the left mouse button and not the right mouse. If I try clicking on the right mouse, it's not going to activate because mouse button one click is specifically the left button. But if you want to do the right mouse button, we use an event called mouse button two click. So we just copy this by something and drop to HOV and we can change mouse button one click to mouse button two click. So now we're going to print here saying button has been right clicked and we just never that anymore. So this is going to happen when we right click on the button. I'm going to create a prompt for this button. Every time I press it through a table. For maybe certain circumstances, if you're specifically playing a PC game or Roblox, you use mouse button two click. We're mostly interested in mouse button one click because this is going to use way more than mouse button two click. Alright, now let's do something fancy. I'm going to create a prompt for this button. Every time I press it through a table full of dialog options, and we choose from. So what we're going to do that is we're going to do a and we're going to make this happen every time we left mouse click the button. So first thing we'll do is we'll create a table full of prompts. So after we make reference to button, let's drop two lines and we'll make a table. So we'll call this table phrases, and we're going to make this a table equal to and we're going to draw a line. So we're going to write a phrase for each line in the wheel. So these phrases are going to be strings because we're going to update the button's text when we press it. So the first phrase is something like ow, that hurt, and then we'll write a comma to make another phrase down here. So we're going to say stop clicking on me, and then we make another one probably saying don't do that. And we say saying this makes me mad. And so you can get it. So these are going to be all phrases that will potentially be said in our text. So now we figure out how we can random phrase from this phrase table. So down here after mouse click, we're first going to pick a random number from 1 to however many entries there are in this table. We're trying to pick the index of what we're trying to fetch from this phrase table. So we'll say global random index equals math.random, and our minimum value is going to be 1 because the first entry will have position 1 and the last entry is at position 4. So we'll say math.random 4. Now there's no way of picking out our maximum values of hard coding number 4 because we might add a fifth entry in the future or maybe more entries. So what we can do instead is that we can fetch the number of entries that our table phrases have by saying the hashtag or pound symbol and then the table. So our table phrase. So this will return the number of entries from our phrase table because this acts as the maximum position inside the phrase. So basically the position of this one down here. So it's going to start at 1 just here and then the last one is down here. So now we're in index. Let's actually get to that phrase. So we'll say global random phrase equals phrases and then you remember how index works if you watch my video tutorial is that we use a hard bracket, we close hard brackets, and we put in our random index that we got. So this will essentially be our actual random phrase. So this one, this one, this one. So now let's take that phrase and put that inside of the text. So down here we're going to say button.text equals random phrase. Alright, so now we have that. Let's test it again. Alright, so if we go to the button, you should see that it's printed out. Now click on it, you can see that a random phrase is picked from our phrase table to then update text here saying don't do that. If we do it again, if we do it again, if we do it again, yeah, now it's something that's making me mad. And we press again, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, and say so it's taking a random phrase and updating the text of the button to say what our random phrase is. So we just want to do this and we'll just constantly pick a random text to update this text. So that's really bad. Alright, so this is the last part of the video. I'm just going to have you challenge, and the challenge will have a couple requirements that I want you to follow. Now again, you can challenge everyone in the comments below, or you just follow along. I do the same experience. So essentially what I want you to do is create a prompt right here that basically asks the question, do you like Roblox? And you probably guess this is going to be a text table. So I want you to create a text table that asks that question, and I want you to create two buttons that acts as the yes button and no button. So one button that's associated with yes and one that's associated with no. And what I want you to do is when you click on one of them, I want you to change the text of the text table to something you think this will say after the option. And I also want you to change the background color of the text table as well, based on the data. So for instance, if yes, then you probably change the color to green, or say no, you change the color to red or something. So let's get on that. Alright, so on the right side, let's first create text label, and we're going to call the text label prompt label. Let's move this to central and let's change this to one or yes and no button. So go to the script. Let's actually delete equal no buttons. So this one that's associated and then here by saying oh I'm saying yay, I'm glad you like Roblox as well. And the background color of this text will change to green. If you say no, then the background changes to red, and the text changes by saying oh I'm sorry you do that. And we just kind of repeatedly do this over again. There's only two steps happening with these text buttons or text labels. So first of all, I want you to do this challenge. It's pretty simple, but just take a feel for these GUI elements and where you practice them. I can help you when you try to implement more complicated GUI elements inside Roblox game. So after I do this, we talked about it on tutorial. The next time I'm going to cover specific sections with sizing position and also scaling options. So that's going to be a very valuable episode for you to tune into. Also, but in the meantime, I'm going to revert back to my answer tutorial guide so that I can make videos on that tutorial and indicate alongside this one as well, so that you can follow along with both guys and get the best out of both. Hey, thanks so much. I'm going to introduce you to more technical vocabulary and concepts within GUI elements to further your understanding of how we can position size these GUI elements to scale appropriately, put them in the right places that you need on the screen, and general things like that. These are couple things that with GUI elements. This will serve more as a technical video to give you a broader understanding of positioning and scaling GUI elements inside Roblox game. So that way, let's jump into it. Alright, let's take this text right here that says this is a label, and it looks pretty normal, like in terms of position and size of where we want to be. So it's like a little bit under the middle of the screen. So it looks pretty good, but that's not the whole picture, unfortunately. If we change the size of our window, we can also see that this text label is still showing, but it's now kind of clipped off of the screen a little bit. And if we continue scaling this down, it's not following our Windows screen. So if we have a horizontal window, we just completely hide the label. But if we scale back up, we can still see it here, but it's not scaling with our screen resolution. So this is a very big problem because Roblox can play on multiple different devices with different screen resolutions. If you're playing this on PC, for instance, you have a pretty wide screen, but if you're playing this on phone, it's going to be a very small screen. And if the GUI elements are not scaling in respect to the resolution of our screen, and you're not able to see the GUI elements where it's the GUI elements are not being scaled properly. And same thing with TVs. So this is definitely a problem. And you wonder how the heck we're supposed to fix this. It's very simple. So first I want you to understand how GUI elements are positioned and size according to our screen resolution. So we'll just hide my GUI element for a second here. So when it comes to 2D or 3D planes, there's going to be an origin point. So in this case, we're talking about our 3D origin. Our origin point is going to be position 0, 0, 0, which is like somewhere around here, just very close to this one location. And when you position something inside the 3D workspace, it's set to a position that is an offset away from the origin. So for instance, if I had a part here that had a position in the z-axis that went this way, which is like maybe around something, it's 50 studs away from the origin. The same thing can basically be said about our 2D GUI screen as well. So our screen has an origin as well, but because it's 2D, we're not working 3 numbers x, y, z. We're working 2 numbers, which is just x and y. So x being the horizontal position and y being the vertical position. Now, in where the position is, the position is going to be at point 0, 0, located on the top left of the screen right here. And so the offset is going to be how many pixels the GUI element is away from the origin. So if I put this text label, for instance, and set this to a position of 0, 0, 0, 0, then it's basically going to be set to the origin, which is in the top corner. But if I change the position to, let's say, 500 pixels off of the origin, it's going to be located right here rather than back here. So the bigger the offset is from the origin, the more it's going to go away from the origin. In this case, the origin of the x is on the side of 0, and the bigger the offset is, the more the GUI element is going to go right. And the same thing can be said with the x value as well. So the origin is 0 starts at the top. If we get a bigger number, it's just going to go down like an offset of 500 as well. It's just keep going down, the bigger you get it. So that's important to know. So going back to our single offsets, I just changed the offset position of the x and y of this text label to make it move away from the origin. But here's the problem with offsets is that since it's a fixed pixelated number, it's not going to automatically scale itself according to the screen resolution of whatever device you're playing Roblox in. So what you have to do instead is modify the scale property of the position and size of whatever it is, so that you will auto-scale the text label to fit on whatever screen resolution you're playing Roblox in. So here's how we do that. If we select our text label and go down to the position, there's 4 values here not to. I'm going to explain what this means a little bit. What we're currently interested in is two concepts. It's our scale and our offset properties. So let's open our position here. And there's two tables here, x and y. Let's open both of these. We can see there's a property called scale and a property called offset for both x and y. So how we position the text label originally was that we changed the offset. So the offset of x was 100 and the offset of y was also 100. But as you know, this is going to automatically scale according to the screen resolution because offset is a fixed pixelated number from origin. So what we can do is instead of using offsets, we can use the scale property. And I want you to keep in mind that you cannot use both scale and offset at the same time. It's by choice of the order you want to scale offset, but I highly recommend always using scale, never using offset. I never can do is instead of using offsets, we can use the scale property. And I want you to keep in mind that you cannot use both scale and offset at the same time. It's by choice of the order you want to scale offset, but I highly recommend always using scale, never using offset. I never really found an instance where I would actually use offsets. So this is one of my recommendations, always use scale. And I'm going to show you how to use the scale. So what we're going to do is we're going to set these offset values. And so you have to understand with the scale property is that units are not the same offset. Because offset is a pixel by pixel unit, but scale is just simply a number between 0 and 1. So our scale is currently at 0, which is on the very top corner, but the maximum number of scale is 1. 1 being the very end of the screen resolution. So for instance, if I move this to the right side, you can see that the scale of the x value is going up. And if we make it go all the way this way, it goes all the way to a value of 1 being maximum. So you don't see anymore, this is on the very right side the screen resolution. So for instance, if I move this to the right side, you can see that the scale of the x value is going up. And if we make it go all the way to the very top corner, but the maximum number, you have to understand with the scale property, always using scale, never using offset. offset. Because offset is a pixel by pixel unit, but scale is just simply a number between 0 and 1. So our scale is turning at 0, which is on the very top corner, but the maximum number of scale is 1, 1 being the very end of the screen resolution. So for instance, if I move this to the right side, you can see that the scale of the x value is going up. And if we make it go all the way this way, it goes all the way to a value of 1, 1 being maximum, so you don't see it anymore, this is on the very right side screen. But if we make it 0.5, then you can see that based on the anchor point, which is at the top corner of the table, it's on the middle of the screen. So let's go back to the left side. We can do the same thing with the y scale as well, just shift this down and change the scale to 0.5. Now let's make the scale for both x and y 0.5. I'll make this middle letters a little more this way. Let's try to center. There we go. So let's start right here. So the scale is 0.4 for the x and then 0.6 for the y. Because this is according to the anchor point, which you don't remember anchor points. I really talked about it in one of the episodes, so I forgot that. But yeah, now let's see what happens when we change our resolution. So I'm going to minimize this. And then we think, well, it looks like it's still going off screen, but if you really look at it carefully, the position of this text label is indeed scaling in accordance to the screen resolution. But how we can really confirm this working is by also changing the size of the text label as well. So if we go down here to size, which is high power resolution, if we go down to size and with this over x and y, we can see that we have offset for both x and y. We don't want to go one offset. So what we can do is replace our offset. So let's change these sizes to 0, and let's change the scale to a number between 0 and 1. So we make this 0.5, and we go y scale 0.5 as well. And now let's position this back to somewhere alongside here in the center so we can see it, so we see it fully. Now let's see what happens if we minimize the screen. As you can see, we can see the full text label on the screen, and if we scale it up and down, it's scaling the text label alongside the screen, which is very, very interesting and very, very helpful when you want the GUI element to scale alongside the screen resolution. So now if you're playing on phone, you can see the entire text label no matter how big or small the screen is. And so that's the difference between scale and offset. Scale is calculated based on the current screen resolution, while offset is a fixed pixel by pixel number that you use to create an offset position size from origin. I hope that makes sense. So that's actually a really cool feature that Roblox has for us, where if we want to test our Roblox game on a different device, like a phone or an Xbox, Roblox has actually provided us device in this. We can see in this case, let's play on the iPhone 14 Pro. You can actually see that the screen has now changed. It's looking so we can see everything. So you might need to do that because when we open our text label and look at our position size, for some reason there's two tables filled with two values for each of these position sizes. So when we see x, y, and z scale offset, we'll you might ask what all this means, and is this a data type Roblox has made it to make possible? And yes, this is a new data type that is specifically for GUIs. So essentially, the data type that position size used is called a UDIM2, also known as a two-dimensional value. And before I explain that, I need to explain what a one-dimensional value is. So a one-dimensional value is basically this x table right here that contains two values, and this y table that also contains two values. A one-dimensional value consists of two components, which is the scale of the axis and the offset of the axis. And so basically, when you combine one dimension, so a one-dimensional value is basically this x table right here that contains two values, and this y table that also contains two values. A one-dimensional value consists of two components, which is the scale of the axis and the offset of the axis. And so basically, when you combine one dimension of x and another one dimension of y, you get a two-dimensional value containing two tables with two values per table, the scale and offset. So I want to rewrite this. A one-dimensional value is called a UDIM, and this contains the scale and offset, which x and y are both UDIM or one-dimensional tables. And if you combine these two together with two one-dimensional tables, you get one two-dimensional value, which is the position because it's a UDIM2, and size, which is also a UDIM2. So if that makes sense, this is a GUI specific property that you will probably use a lot, especially when you're trying to change the size of GUI element while you're inside the game. I'm actually going to show you an example of this using a script right now. So if you want to change the position or size of the GUI element while we're in the game, we're going to do this by using a local script, and we're going to change it using a UDIM2 value. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So on the right side, let's hit the plus on the text label and let's insert a local script. So let's first make reference to our text label. So we're going to say local text equals script.parent, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add a wait here, so we're going to say task.wait, and we're going to put in 5 seconds. Let's also print if our change is successful by saying GUI has been changed. And then down here, we're going to change the position of the text label to, let's say, be in the corner of the screen, but not entirely in the corner of the screen. You can still want to be able to look at it. So let's go here. We're going to say text.position equals, and this takes in a UDIM value. So this is what we're going to look like when we create a new UDIM value or two-dimensional value. We're going to say UDIM2, so make sure the UDIM is capitalized and no 2 right in. And this is a class, so we're going to create using a new constructor by saying .new, and then put them in parentheses. And this contains 4 values. So if you remember, our 4 values is our scale and offset for the x, and then our scale and offset for the y. So this is what we're going to look like. Right now, our x scale is 0.25. So let's make this 0.5, and we'll say this comma. And the x offset, we're not going to change the offset to 0. Another comma. Now this is going to be the y scale. Let's change this to 0.5 as well. And finally, our last value is going to be y offset. And I know we don't like these offsets, so we're going to hit this 0 as well. So let's go to the game, hit test play, and you should see after 5 seconds that our text label should change position. So I can see we wait 5 seconds, and it prints everything GUI hasn't changed, and our position of the text label moves slightly further along the right and also down. So it works as expected. And if we change the window, we can still see that the text is being scaled alongside our screen resolution. So we have successfully done what we needed to do. But we can also do this with size as well. Back to our script, we can change the size of the text box and text.size equals UDIM2.new, and it looks like our current size is 0.505 scale. So let's change this to 0.25 instead, comma 0 because we want offset, comma, and the y scale will also be 0.5, comma 0. So now let's go to the game 0 as well. So let's go to the game. And there we go, I can see not only did our position change with the text label, but also change the size of it as well. To not only go right, slightly down, but also change the scale of it to be smaller. So it reduces the scale starting on the bottom right, and it just scale down like this in either direction. So that's basically how it works here with these, with scale versus offset and also position sizes and UDIM and UDIM values. So I'm going to go from this episode to gain more insight into how these GUI elements are created and scale according to the device you're playing on. So I think that's helpful. Bro, what is this? Does this game think about math or something? Okay, what is 8 minus 4? Well, if we think about this, if we're subtracting 4 from 8, we're really taking away 4 from 8. So I think the answer is 8. Let me put that here. Let's see what our result is. Bro, alright, let's think about it. Okay, but anyways, what we just saw was the question that the game gave to us was a math problem, and we were able to answer this question by inputting a number inside a little box, and whatever answer we put inside the box, we put on the submit button to check whether the answer was correct or not. And then we were able to get this user input from the player was from a new GUI element called a text box, which is the GUI element that we'll be using inside of this episode. So we can get user input from the player through our GUI elements. And in order to create a text box, we're of course going to input this screen GUI. So we're going to go to the right side of the floor, hit plus on next to GUI, and we're going to insert screen GUI. We're going to call this main GUI, and then we hit plus on here, and we're going to insert a text box. So this is what our text box should look like, and we're able to drag this around the normal, but you notice that we can actually select this text box inside our studio, and right now it's selected, we're focused in this case. So this indicates that we're able to type something inside this text box. So if I really type in hello or just anything, then it's going to change the text of this text box to whatever I typed in. We can delete this, and we can even deselect it so we can unfocus from it to where it's just now a blank text box. And like I mentioned, we can just select it again so we can focus on it, and we can put in text here, like how are you doing? And this is the cool thing about text box is that it's kind of like a text label, but it was able to be changed by the user when they're playing the game. That's kind of like an easy explanation I can give to text boxes and how they're used inside the game. So that's something I want to understand a little bit. And I mentioned that when we select our text box, we don't just focus mode. This is just called focusing on the text box, and if we're not focusing for it anymore, that's called defocusing. So those are two terminologies that I want you to get a grasp at because there's going to be properties and events and functions that we're going to use that require you to know the difference between focusing and defocusing. It's pretty easy. So I think you can get the understanding of that. One thing now is to introduce you to other properties that are specifically used for text boxes. Before we do that, let's change the text box. So let's select text box and let's play some sort of text here. Let's say Roblox is amazing. Now what we'll do is select text box and let's scroll down to text category and let's make text scale turn on and let's scale this so we can see it a lot easier. And let's also reposition the center and I'll that again. Fine, so let's go to say Roblox is awesome. Alright, now we have that. Let's scroll back up in properties tab. So the first property that I want to introduce unique to text boxes is called clear text on focus. And basically what this means is that when you focus on the text box that already has text on it, it's just going to wipe away whatever text was originally. Scroll back up in properties tab. So the first property that I want to introduce that's unique to text boxes is called clear text on focus. And basically Basically, what this means is that when you focus on the text box that already has text on it, it's just going to wipe away whatever text was originally on this text box, so that you put in some new text. So we can just say Roblox sucks instead. In order to prevent this, to where we defocus the focus back on again, we don't want to just delete all the pretext out there. What we can do is turn off clear text on focus. So let's uncheck this, and let's hit our original state. Let's say Roblox is awesome. Let's deselect it, and then select again, and see the text box did not wipe whatever text originally was in here. So we just continue what we were trying to say with this text box. So we just awesome with Roblox is bad. There's also a property called multiline, and basically what this means is that when you have this turned on, you can create text that have multiple lines inside the same text box. So if I hit enter, which drops down to the next line, we're able to do this, and we can just write text line by line. So we can say, nah, Roblox is good, and then we can just drop a line out here, and we can say, nah, I'm not sure. And so we just keep doing this over and over again. But if we disable multiline and we try to drop down to this line, it's not going to work. We just hit enter and just simply deselect the text box. We also have text editable, which basically means if we have this turned on, then whenever our player is playing inside the game, then we can select this current text editable and update the text however we want to. But if we have it turned off, let's turn off text editable, then the player will not be able to add any more text. I can see I'm trying to type on keyboard right now, and nothing's being put onto this text box because I disabled text editable. So this is useful during game when there's certain periods where you just don't want the player to edit whatever is turning into text. So I think that's pretty much time to find text editable to be useful. I have something to know. If we scroll down, there are new properties related to the text category. So first thing, we have this thing called a placeholder text. And what this means is that if there's no actual text on this text box, then Roblox is going to put in a text for you before the player actually does put a text inside of this text box. So it's kind of like a default text before putting an actual text in there. So let me show you what this looks like. Let's delete our text here. And I can see there's no text inside our text box. But it's not hard to tell that this is a text box other than our cursor change. So one really way we can let the player know that this is a text box is by adding a placeholder text. So let's change this for instance to enter your answer here. So Roblox is going to put in a default text here if you don't already have text here. So we select this, then we can put in text inside the text box, and the placeholder text will automatically go away, being replaced by the text we put in. And if we leave the text property again, then it'll go back to a placeholder text. So I just need to let the player know that this is supposed to be a text box that the player is supposed to be here. There's another thing related to placeholder text is placeholder color 3. So by default it's this sort of grayish text color. But if we click on this square color, then in the panel we can choose whatever color we want. Dark green or something. We hit okay, and this is going to be our placeholder text, but our actual text is going to be whatever our text color is. And that's pretty much the idea. So now I can choose certain components of the text box. And first of all, two events. The first one being focus and the other being focus lost. So let's just insert a global script inside our text box over here. Let's plus equals script like this, and we'll make it to our text box by saying global text box equals script dot here. And down here we're going to create a first event. We're going to say text box dot focus colon connect function open text equals enter. So this event is basically a flyer whenever the player selects the text before they input any sort of information onto the text box. So let's just do simple like right click by saying print player has selected the text box, and you can basically do the same thing when they go out of focus from the text box, also known as deselecting the text box. We can say text box dot focus lost colon connect function. So let's enter and let's write. Here by saying player has lost focus of the text box. So these are two events that will simply activate whenever first the player selects the text box, and then this will fire when the player defocuses from the text box. So let's test this out real quick. Alright, so on the game, when I focus on the text box, it's now saying in the output player has selected the text box. We can put in some random information here, and we deselect it, then it's going to say player has lost focus of the text box. And what's interesting about defocusing is that if we select our text box again, as long as we stay focused, it'll go to print player has selected the text box one time. It's not going to happen every time we click on this while we're still focusing on the text box. However, instead of just clicking away from the text box and deselect it, we can also hit enter, and this will also activate the focus lost of the text box saying player has lost focus of the text box. And I believe this also works by hitting escape as well. So there's definitely a bunch of keys that act as losing focus of the text box, like hitting enter or pressing escape or clicking outside of the text box. So those are stuff that you should be aware of when you're trying to design your text boxes of your Roblox game. So going back to focus lost, there are two arguments here, but the only one that's really important here is enter press. Input that causes focus lost doesn't really matter all too much, as you can enter press. So our first argument is going to be enter press, and this is the one we're interested in. Enter press is basically a boolean that tells us whether the player lost focus on the text box if they hit enter and not doing else. Doesn't really matter all too much. So those are stuff that you should be aware of when you're trying to design your text boxes of your Roblox game. So going back to focus lost, there are two arguments here, but the only one that's really important here is enter press. Input that causes focus lost doesn't really matter all too much, as you can enter press. So our first argument is going to be enter press, and this is the one we're interested in. Enter press is basically a boolean that tells us whether the player lost focus on the text box if they hit enter and not doing else when I was clicking away from the text box or hitting escape. So let's make that check down here by saying if enter press, then this implicitly checks whether the player has pressed enter. Let's try to save by saying text box. Now if we select this again and then hit escape for instance, all it's going to say is the player lost focus of the text box and not because the player has entered. So that's something interesting to know about. Let's say this is like confirmation text box that you're trying to use for your systems. And then finally we have three functions. Hit enter to lose focus. So now let's test this. So let's just put some random stuff here and let's hit enter. We're going to see that not only the player has hit enter to lose focus, but also the other thing that was originally player lost focus of the text box. Now if we select again and then hit escape for instance, all it's going to say is player lost focus of the text box and not because the player has hit enter. So that's something interesting to know about. Let's say a certain point in the game without the player doing themselves. So we're and then finally, we have three functions from text box that we'll be using in this episode. So the first function is capture focus, which is basically forcing the player to automatically select the text box during a certain point in the game without the player doing it themselves. So we're going to do that with Roblox script. And let's quickly comment out these print statements so that our output will be nicer when we test whatever we're going to test the rest of the time. So what we're going to do first is after about 5 seconds, we're going to force the player into focusing on the text box. So what we're going to do is drop two lines down here. We're going to say task dot wait, put 5 seconds there. And down here, let's say text box colon capture focus. Open parentheses, close parentheses. So this way, after 5 seconds, the text box will force the player to capturing the text box. And by doing this, it's going to fire this focus event up here so we can do what we want to do. So just right now, let's actually comment this again so we can see what this works out. Let's test this out. So after about 5 seconds, we should automatically be selecting this text box. I can see this little blinking line at the beginning, while also saying to your player select the text box. So it's working like that, and we can deselect what we want to do. The next function is called is focus. And this is basically a function that just returns a boolean as to whether the player is currently focusing on the text box. And it goes something similar to the beginning, while also saying to your player select the text box. So it's working like that, and we can deselect what we want to do. The next function is called is focus. And this is basically a function that just returns a boolean as to whether the player is currently focusing on the text box. And it goes something similar to this. So those are rules here. And let's check to see in about 5 seconds whether the player is still focusing on this text box. And we're actually going to do this using a task delay rather than task wait. We want to pause completely if this is the case. So we're do something task dot delay open parentheses and we're going to put in the duration which is 5 seconds, comma, and we're creating a function by saying function open parentheses enter. So we're creating a boolean here by saying global is focus equals text box colon is focus open parentheses. So this boolean tells us whether the player is still focusing on the text box after 5 seconds. So make that check by saying if is focused, then what we'll do is say print player is still focused on the text box. So that's how we're going to work for this script here. So after 5 seconds, the game is going to automatically capture this text box and it's going to call this focus event. And after about 5 seconds, just to have the script delay a little bit without actually stopping the script, we're going to see if the player is still focused on the text box. If it is, then going to the same right here. So let's see our change. Alright, so after about 5 seconds, the text label should automatically select the text label for us. But after about another 5 seconds, it then displays player still focus on text box, and behind the label still focus on text. So this is where the last function comes in. If we don't want this to continuously be selected, we can use a function called release focus. So this is what it's going to look like. Let's go to script. And after about 5 seconds, if the player is still focused on text box, let's take the script automatically defocus the player from text box, so that the player doesn't have to do it themselves. So let's drop a line and let's say text box colon release focus. There you go. So let's go to the game and see your change. Alright, so text box automatically first. So in about 5 seconds, what should happen is that the script will automatically deselect this text box as shown here. So the script pretty much works as intended, but there also is an additional parameter to this release focus function called submit, and we basically add a boolean here either true or false. And pretty much this submit argument tells us whether we want to override the interpress parameter inside focus loss. Because as you know, as soon as we release focus, then focus loss is automatically going to fire. So we don't want interpress to fire if we choose not to. So what we can do is pass in a argument of boolean true for submit, so that we can override this interpress parameter, and we don't need to check for interpress. We already know that this submit parameter. I would like to listen. So that's the basic of text boxes. I'm clearly not going to do math problems, so this pretty much works as intended, but there also is an additional parameter to this release focus function called submit, and we basically add a boolean here of either true or false. And pretty much this submit argument tells us whether we want to override the interpress parameter inside focus loss. Because as you know, as soon as we release focus, then focus loss is automatically going to fire. So we don't want interpress to fire if we choose not to. So what we can do is pass in a argument of boolean true for submit, so that we can override this interpress parameter, and we don't need to check for interpress because we already know that this submit parameter. I would like to listen. So that's the basic of text boxes. I'm clearly not going to do math problems, so I need to reevaluate those choices over. But I hope those of you this episode. Be sure to listen to this episode, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Pick a magic number and see yourself in 10 years. This is a little tricky. We should check 4, 56, 29. I will probably go with the last one, 29. Oh yeah, this is true. Alright, that's one thing. Let me show you how to create images and put them inside your Roblox game. As part of your storyline. Not only display images, but we can also display images that we click on to have another interaction with the player as well. So those are the things we're going to show you how to do this. So let's jump straight in. Alright, let's say now obviously we can't add these images if you don't know where to get these images in the first place. So one of the most popular places to look is in the game's toolbox. And if you don't know what toolbox is, you can just go up here to view, and there should be a little button here that's toolbox. I'm sure there's a located on the page, yeah, right here in the category. So if we click on this, then on the left side, or wherever it's on the screen, should be the game toolbox that have all these generated content that you can place inside your Roblox game. To look for images specifically, we will click on this drop down that says models, and we're going to click on images. And now we have this whole library of images to use for our Roblox game. One of the case that you were not familiar with toolbox, so that being said, we have all these images to work with to add to our Roblox game. But now it comes down to what type of object we're going to use to actually insert these images inside our game. And one of them I'm using right now are called image labels. And these are essentially instances made by Roblox to be able to display these images inside our Roblox game. Without doing anything special, all we're going to do is just display them and snap screenshots. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go to the right side of our screen with these words, and then we're going to plus sign insert UI, and of course we're going to insert UI because we can't add any UI links unless we have a screen UI to plug into. So we're going to plus sign, and we're now going to insert an image label. So click on this, and as you can see on the top left side of the screen, the image for this little placeholder image icon thing over here is now displayed on our screen. So we can drag around, we can scale it up, down as we want to. It's very image, but now it just comes down to displaying the right image that we have from the catalog. So let's say we want to take an image from this image category. I'll do that. So let's say we had this dead right here. If we want to display this in our image label, we need to understand how image URLs work. But I'm going to show you that one script. Right now we're just going to hardcodely put it into the game. So as you know, all these images, they have their own unique ID or identification numbers to differentiate one image from another. It's like it's hard to know what this image we're looking for. Is we're going to get the ID of the image. And what we're going to do that is by right-clicking on the image and clicking the button that says copy asset ID. So we click this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to select our image label on these words, and then we're going to scroll down just a little bit until we find this property called image. So we click on this image. It's basically a string that contains a directory to a placeholder image that Roblox already has for us. So we're going to delete this, and as you can see now the image basically shows nothing in the placeholder image because we want to now replace this with our new image that we just copied. So let's highlight our image, let's right-click and paste our new ID, and let's hit enter. Okay, so now we have our image that we're looking for. But you might notice that we can copy the image ID and paste it in here and use these numbers. But Roblox automatically added this little URL prefix before our number. So what does all this mean? So essentially what our asset ID is that this is a location stored in Roblox servers that stores all these new generated assets. And all you need to do to retrieve these assets is by specifying the ID of the asset and bring it into Roblox. So and this is an important thing because if we let's say script this image, so let's add a local script inside our screen UI, and let's make reference to our image label saying local image equals script.parent.image label. Let's say we want to change the image inside our script. So let's say image.image because that's the property that we're trying to change here equals, and if we let's say just add these numbers here. This will not work because image is a string, and so you might think, oh, I want to do this. This is a little weird because it doesn't count as a valid image address. So I just joined this game, and as you can see, the image is not loaded. And when I type player to see the image label change, the image always now just numbers. It's not a URL address to the right asset image we're trying to retrieve. So that's very important to memorize this RBX asset ID prefix to add it alongside your number, alongside your image ID. So what we can do is we go to our script, and right before our numbers, we're going to say RBX asset ID with two S's colon // and then our numbers and then our asset ID right after that. I think it's very beneficial to memorize this URL address. So if you have the time when you're going through and using your Roblox game, I would mind to memorize this address prefix for your UI, because you'll see a lot of time in the long run, especially when you know how to add images into your Roblox rather than having to just load up. So that's basically how you change the image property in the Roblox game. Alright, there are some other properties that make images need to UI ones. The first one is being image transparency, but this is specifically the image. So it's important to know the difference between image transparency versus background transparency. Background transparency is sort of like the border that's behind the image, but image transparency is the transparency of the image itself. So key difference to the and then we also have image color, which is basically the same thing, where it's like we can change the color of the image specifically to a more tan color. Now this is not by default, the image color is white, so whenever we change the color, it just makes the colors of the image whatever it already is, but as a color for you is basically the same thing, where it's like we can change the color of the image specifically to a more tan color. Now this is not by default, the image color is white. So whenever we change the color, it just makes the colors of the image whatever it already is, but adds a little tint to it. So it doesn't completely change the color of the image. It's more like it adds a tint to it. So that's what I want to emphasize as well. For example, we can able to successfully add our images to the game. But Roblox has another UI that adds more user interactivity to our images, and that's called an image button. And that's basically what an image button is. It's basically what you're looking at right here as a user, but the player is able to click on it and make the script that's contained to do what it needs to do when the player clicks on the image button. So I'm going to show you what it looks like inside our script. So let's go and down here, let's first of all create a new image button. Actually, so let's go to our game and let's click on plus UI and let's insert an image. Copy it and let's go to our script. And it comes in post. So this is how we're going to text to click from the player using the mouse button one click event. And if we're just trying to know that button, so we're going to say button has been clicked, and then as one because the script is basically taking every single time the user clicks on this button, and so the print button has clicked on it. So this is pretty important as intended. And now two more properties that are unique to image buttons, and that's when you can change the image of the image button when you hover over the image, and also when you press the image. So these are two separate properties with your images that you put inside you. So we have one for when we hover the image with the property, and one when we press it with the press image property down here. So we go to Roblox and click this many times because it's basically taking every single time you click on this button and go to print button to click on it. So this is pretty working as intended. Now there's two more properties that you need to do buttons, and that's when you change the image of the image button, when you hover over the image, and also when you press the image. So these are two separate properties with different images that you put if you decide to do so. So we have one for when you hover over the image with the property, and one when you press it with just press image property down here. So we go to Roblox and try to look at image. Let's take this Donna's statue right here. Let's right click it and hit copy asset ID, and let's select our cover image and let's paste it and enter. And then let's pick another image for when we press the button. So we probably pick let's say this haunted volleyball here. So let's right click copy asset ID, go over to press image and then hit paste enter. And now what will happen is if we hover over the image, then it should change to the Donna's statue right here. When I unhover, then you will not see the Donna's statue anymore. It'll go back to our image. So then I'll hover this and now press it. So if I hold down the button, then it should change the image to the haunted volleyball. And when I go, then it's just going to go back to our cover image, which is Donna's statue, and we unhover it and go back to our normal image. It's like that. There are other properties like image type cost and image type size and also the scale pace. But these are a little complicated. And I'm going to go into this episode, but in a later episode further down the line is UI. I will go over scale types in its own separate video because there's a lot to say for this concept. So this is where we're going to episode. So this is an introductory to image buttons and image labels. And I'll be found to be part. If you want to learn another GUI that I've made video on for this one, then I encourage you to watch my text box video that I made. That's part of my GUI tour guide. Or you can just watch everything how this GUI tour guide until this point and follow along with the journey as I uncover more GUI related concepts into this guide. What is this button that says click me? Wait, why are you here? Okay, I guess this is trying to play games with me. Alright, I can see what happens when you keep clicking on this. Come on. Bro, you can't be serious right now. Alright, let's think about this for a minute. So with this button that I kept trying to click like this, it looks like moving the position of this button to be somewhere that's relative to the little box here. But what does it mean exactly? I think I was just trying to say that whenever I click on this button, it's going to pick a random position that's relative to this button that says click me. I kept trying to click like this. It looks like moving the position of this button to be somewhere that's relative to the little box here. But what does it mean exactly? I think I was just trying to say that whenever I click on this button, it's going to pick a random position that's relative to this little box over here. That this button is a little bit teeny size. So I think this is what you use case called a frame, which is actually a couple GUI elements that are blocks that I think is something important that you should be aware of. So that's basically what I'm going to be teaching you how to do in this episode. We're also covering another frame that is similar to frames called scroll frames. So with that being said, let's go straight into implementing the frames and scroll frames. Now we understand what's in it. So to reiterate what a frame essentially is that it's a container that contains our GUI elements put together inside of one frame so that we can change, manipulate, and move around that individual frame that contains all these GUI elements together so that we have much easier time organizing those changes around when it comes to GUI elements. So to show you what's going on, first thing we need to do on our side is to of course add a free GUI as usual for any GUI element, and then we're going to use the plus sign. We're going to add a frame. This is what it should look like. So we add this frame. It should display on top of the screen with any GUI element and move this around. But now what next? Well, to tell you the truth, this is basically the frame right here that contains every other GUI element we can use in order to manipulate, move around, and organize our GUI inside our Roblox game. So our friends on our side, and it has all the properties that we work with, but there aren't anything too special about the frame. It's already called this, and I'm going to tell you what it is. So this frame, since I mentioned this as a container for all GUI elements, let's go ahead and start adding GUI elements. So let's plus sign the frame and let's add a text label. Our text label will actually change the pattern of the frame to something darker so you can see the other stuff. Alright, and now our text label. So when we add it, it's in the origin position of the frame and not the actual game. Because if we add a GUI element, it starts at the position origin of the screen, which is somewhere here. But now, since we have the text label that contains inside the frame, the frames are new here. So the beginning position is going to be at the origin of wherever this frame is, and so that's why it can start here. So anything we can do basically inside here. We can position outside the GUI as well. There's actually a property that allows us to not do that. It'll hide if it decides to go off of the container frame order with wherever this frame is, and so that's why it can start here. So anything we can do basically inside here. We can position outside the GUI as well. There's actually a property that allows us to not do that. It'll hide if it decides to go off of the container frame order with the property that I mentioned earlier called click sense. So we can hide our frame and then we press click sense, and then here text label. Drag this off the screen. You can see that it's invisible because it has to be within the boundaries of the frame in order to be visible. But we can bypass by unchecking click sense with the frame, and now we can drag wherever we want, but it's still inside of our frame. So now we understand this, we can add more elements to our frame by hitting plus sign. Let's create a text button this time. We can just put somewhere else off the side here, make it colorful wherever it doesn't matter too much. We can add more elements like a text box. This text box can just go wherever it doesn't matter. And then once again, you can turn on click sense so that whatever is outside the boundaries of the frame, it will not show. So that is basically what frame does. It's basically a container that contains GUI elements that we can use to modify and organize our GUI elements in our Roblox game. Because one thing we notice is that if I try dragging this frame around, it's dragging every other element that's inside the frame alongside with it. Because now that these GUI elements are inside this frame, basically all these elements belong to the frame. So we move the frame, then it moves all the other GUI elements as well. So you can treat this as a folder or model if you're working with 3 objects, but this time it's going to be 2D objects. So that's kind of what this is like. I just want to add one note. So when you're changing the position and size of these individual parts inside the frame, is that when you put elements inside the frame, then the position and size properties are now relative to the frame that is located in, and not the entire screen. So what we're getting here is that let's say we had our text here. So the position here is now 0, 0, 0, 0 because this position is relative to the frame that's at. So this is 0, 0, 0, 0, not this being 0, 0, 0. This would be if this was just a string GUI rather than anything else that's inside. So that's what this is. So the position here is now 0, 0, 0, 0 because this position is relative to the frame that's at. So this is 0, 0, 0, 0, not this being 0, 0, 0. This would be if this was just a string GUI rather than anything else that's inside. So that's what this is. If you're handling position sizes with GUI elements inside the frame, you have to make sure that what you're changing is relative to the frame or GUI container that is inside. Same thing with size. Let's say we're changing the scale property of these sizes, and these sizes are relative to the frame and not the entire screen. So a size of 1 would be from where it started at the frame to the entire way through for this frame and not for the entire Roblox screen. And you can do the same thing with the Y scale as well to cover the entire frame with a scale of 1 for both the X and Y axis. It's not covering anything outside of the frame unless you decide to go past 1. So let's say you had size 1.5 for the Y scale, then it's going to fill up the frame entirely. You can go an extra mile going through 1.5 as a scale. So the properties are inside the position size. If I let's say change the size of the frame itself, it just covers the entire screen. Here's the thing about frames that make it convenient overall is that this is literally a GUI element in itself. So this frame has GUI elements that you can change. I will also change the properties that are inside the position size. If I let's say change the size of the frame itself to 0.5, then it's going to scale all of the elements that are inside the frame alongside with it to match the new size of this frame. You cannot use a folder because a folder has no properties related to a GUI element. A folder is not a GUI element. A frame, however, frames do. They basically act as frames. They set properties inside of this frame here to whatever we change with the actual frame itself. So that's important thing to know. Now we understand frames. I now want to introduce you to another type of frame that's called scroll frames. And you can guess what scroll frames do. They basically act as frames. They set scroll up and down or left and right frames to show a lot more of what the frames are. So you've probably seen these in Roblox before. Now I'm going to show you how to implement them inside Roblox Studio. So on the right side of screen GUI, let's plus sign, and we're going to add a scrolling frame, which looks like this. And right now what we're going to do is we're actually going to hide our first frame. So we're going to click on download it and hit the visual sign so that we can see it anymore. And let's take scroll frame and move it over to the middle, and let's scale just a little bit. So one noticeable thing to see is that there's a little bar on the right side. This indicates our scrolling bar to let us know that we can scroll on the screen and it'll show a bunch of results of whatever contains the scroll frame and go up and down. We're not putting all the elements inside one picture. It's a way to dynamically move up and down, see all these elements that are supposedly inside here. So essentially, let's add a bunch of objects inside the scroll frame so we can see it move past us when we scroll up and down. So let's plus sign the scroll frame and let's add a text label. And let's change the background of the frame to something like this here. And so now let's now have this text label. If we scroll down, we can see that we can no longer see it within our view because we're scrolling down onto the page. Unless we scroll all the way back up, then we can see the text label. And there's actually something we can do with this scroll frame called the opposite side. So we click sort of this with it and it can go all the way down to the bottom page. There's one instance I'm going to add into this scroll frame that you probably don't know yet, and you can just follow along what I do. And there's actually something we can do with this scroll frame called the opposite side. So we click sort of this with it and it can go all the way down on the bottom page. There's one instance I'm going to add into this scroll frame that you probably don't know yet, and you can just follow along what I do. We're just going to add a UI list string. So let's plus sign this scroll frame and let's add a UI list layout with my model. And we're going to do this text label and we're going to duplicate this over and over and over again until we reach the bottom of the page. So we're just going to keep on doing this until we reach the bottom list string. So let's plus sign this scroll frame and let's add a UI list layout with my model. And we're going to do text label and we're going to duplicate this over and over and over again until we reach the bottom of the page. So we're going to keep on doing this until we reach the bottom of the page. And now we have pretty much reached the bottom of the page where this entire scrolling frame is just filled with all these text labels that we can see, we just scroll down, we see all of them. But here's the interesting thing is that if we keep duplicating it until we reach the bottom of the page, we can no longer see these elements past the scroll size. So there's one way we can dynamically change the size of this canvas, and that is by using things. So the first way we can do is if I go on the right side and change the canvas size directly on the right position here. However, I recommend this because if we change the scale of this manually to this, if we dynamically change the size of this canvas, and that is by using things. So the first way we can do is if I go on the right side and change the canvas size directly on the right position here. However, I recommend this because if we change the scale of this manually to equals 3, then it's going to automatically scale these elements if we chose to have these text labels be scaled with its size rather than offset, rather than text labels. So you can see that here, but if we change the size of these elements to scale instead of side by side, then it would be a lot different, more confusing. So what I recommend is changing this option right here because automatic can't size. So let's open this up, and there should be three options here. There should be X, Y, and Y. Basically, what this means is that if let's say I had elements that going up and down and reach our canvas size, what we tell Roblox to do is if we take Y, for instance, it'll then increase the size of our canvas depending on how many elements we have on this scroll frame. So let's take our text label and as you can see, the scroll frame is automatically resizing itself to fit all these elements on the screen. And we're going to do the same thing with the X as well. So X means that if you go from left to right, it's automatically going to resize itself if we reach the end of the scroll label. So what we do is both ways with X and Y together, use those exactly so, and that is another way to do it. So that's a little bit what to add to the scroll frame with graphic. There's also a couple customizable things we can do with the scrolling bar itself. Like change the color to something different, like green or anything really. We can change the thickness to like 20. We can change the transparency to something hard to see. There's also a couple customizable things we can do with the scrolling bar itself. Like change the color to something different, like green or anything really. We can change the thickness to like 20. We can change the transparency to something hard to see. There's like customization stuff like that. You can change the image of each part of the scrolling bar you really want to. Another part is this canvas position, which tells us which place in the scrolling bar we are located right now. So according to this, we are 1,526 pixels down into the scroll frame. If we go all the way back up, then we're going to reach back to the origin of 0 and 0. So because this is a scroll frame from top to bottom, it's going to update the Y position every time we go down or go up the scroll frame. Another thing we can do to the scroll frame is make it go horizontal from left to right instead of scrolling up and down. What we do is change the canvas size of the X property over here rather than the Y property. So the canvas size currently is 2 for the Y property. So we can change this to 0 and change this X property to 2 instead. We're going to see our two scroll bars because right now we have set so that it will automatically size itself based on X and Y axes. So what we're going to do is select just X. So now we can't see what's happening on the screen. So now what happens is that we have this scroll bar down here at the bottom that goes from left to right. So if I scroll down, it will automatically size. Do this is change the canvas size of the X property over here rather than the Y property. So canvas size currently is 2 for the Y property. So we change this to 0 and change this X property to 2 instead. We're going to see our two scroll bars because right now we have set so that it will automatically size itself based on X and Y axes. So what we're going to do is select just X. So now we can see what's happening on the screen. So now what happens is that we have this scroll bar down here at the bottom that goes from left to right. So if I scroll down, technically, then it's going to go to the right, and I keep doing this forever until we reach the end of the scroll frame, and then go back over here, seeing all the stuff on the left side of the screen. So it's basically simple. It's just now that we're scroll this from the right rather than top bottom. So I think another important distinction to know about, and of course we want automatic scale size, just be sure that you have X and Y or just X texture. It doesn't matter which one, as long as you achieve the result you want from this scroll frame. And also, you need to give a good understanding of frames and scroll frames, because these are definitely one of those GUI elements that should be necessary to know about, especially with the feature of your when you create more complicated GUI elements. Then you have to organize, so be smart about how you go about organizing your game and manipulating GUI elements contained inside of frames and scroll frames. They may use and help you later down the line. So if you want to learn about some of the elements that I included in this video, like this one for instance, and I'm sure you watch my text on the video, but I'm happy you're ready to watch. And that's going to give this episode. So if you enjoyed it, then I hope to see you in the next episode. Take care. I bet you can't click the button in time. Wait, what is it? Oh, wait, I think I saw it flash first. Second. Wait, is that this button here? Oh, yeah, I saw it. Okay, well, it looks like it's a challenge that this I don't know what I have to so I'm going to try and press the button. Oh, yeah, I'll just get it. Come on. Oh, this is fun. Let me try again. Oh my god. What I do to myself. Alright, let's think about what this happened for a minute. So first thing I noticed was that this sign over here has text displayed on it, but this sign is a 3D object inside the workspace. It's not a GUI screen. It's not a GUI element in my 2D screen. It's literally a GUI object inside the 3D workspace plastered onto the sign part. So that's one interesting thing I noticed about this. And basically same thing can go with this part over here that has this text that has a button that says go. I'm pretty sure the way we're able to plaster these onto a 3D object is by using what's known as a surface GUI. This is what we transition to, so we can understand how to implement surface GUIs inside Roblox games, because this is another GUI element that I was going to cover eventually. And I guess now we'll be time to discuss how these are implemented inside Roblox games. So that being said, let's go implement these inside Roblox Studio. Now we understand, let's add these surface GUIs inside our game. But you might ask, where do we add these surface GUIs if we're let's say trying to add surface GUI to this part, for instance, or if I just went into model and I created a new part, and I just put this inside to scale up a little bit and also make this standard so that we have a part ready for the screen GUI, just like this one here. You ask, how does this work? Well, if you remember what I said earlier, a surface GUI is essentially GUI elements that are attached to a part rather than GUI elements attached to our 2D screen. Because up until this point, when we create GUI elements, we can put them inside our GUI and we just create a 3D GUI, and inside that 3D GUI we create whatever elements that would display on our 2D screen. This doesn't work the same way as we used to, because we're trying to essentially make the parts of the screen itself. We're not trying to add elements to our own screen, but instead inside the 3D world, inside of a specific part that we want to add a GUI element to. It won't work the same way as we've been doing up until this point. So we're going to have to do different. So I'm going to do this 3D GUI that we've designed. So to answer the question of where we should put the surface GUI, like I mentioned, is we should put it directly in the part that we're trying to display GUI elements in. So on the right side of the screen, let's rename our part so that we know the part where it's defined. We're going to say surface part, and then we're going to go to the right side plus sign, and we're going to insert a surface GUI enter. And I can see we inserted a surface GUI, but there seems to be nothing showing on this part. And because surface GUI basically acts as a container for all the GUI elements that we're going to place inside the part. So it's very similar to a screen GUI, as it's basically a container for these GUI elements. So now we're going to do is simple sign, and we're just going to add in our own GUI elements, like for instance, text label. So I can see our text label is added, and it shows right here on the top left of the part rather than our screen, this text label. And if we decide to move around the 3D workspace, then we can see perspectively that it's on this side of the part, and we can only see this GUI element from this side of the part, and we can't see it universally like we can on our 2D screen. So that's essentially the primary use of surface GUIs, is that we can add these GUI elements onto a specific part rather than having them appear on our 2D screen. Now we have this. Let me introduce you to some properties that you may find useful. And the first property I want to introduce you is this property down here called a journey. I won't say that correctly, but basically what a journey is that this is a property that we set to specify which part are we trying to attach this surface GUI onto. Now obviously the journey here would be the surface part, which is this thing right here, which is essentially the parent of the surface GUI. And you notice that the journey property is actually left blank, and that's because by default the journey of the surface GUI is whatever the parent of the surface GUI is. So the parent of the surface GUI is the surface part. So automatically we're also going to say that the journey of this part is going to be the surface part. But let's say we had a model where we have multiple parts, and we need one surface GUI to be attached to one specific part. And the surface GUI didn't know which one to specify. This is pretty sure every and I'm going to show you how this works. So let's go to workspace and let's hit plus sign. Let's add a new model. So in this model, we're going to put the surface part inside here. And I'm going to duplicate the surface part and move it alongside over here. Let's surface part and let's delete the surface GUI. So we're just going to have one here. So now we have two surface parts with one surface GUI over here with one boundary over here. So if let's say we decide to have this surface GUI as a journey be this part instead, so I'm going to do this. Next, what I'm going to do is specify this surface part specifically. So I'm going to click it, and as you can see, now the surface GUI as a journey is set to this part rather than this one. And it's now displayed here rather than here. So once you take the thing of journey is if you have a health bar and you want to show on top of your player's head this surface part specifically. So I'm going to click it, and as you can see, now the surface GUI as a journey is set to this part rather than this one. And it's now displayed here rather than here. So once you take the thing of journey is if you have a health bar and you want to show on top of your player's head, you specify the journey to the player's head so that the surface GUI knows exactly which part it should be attached to inside the model. So that's what it is, and I hope that makes sense. So you may notice that this text label is being displayed on this side part. And I might ask, why is this part? Why is this displayed to a player's head so that the search UI knows exactly which part it should be attached to if it's inside the model. So that's what it is, and I hope that makes sense. So you may notice that this text label is being displayed on this side part. And I might ask, why is this part? Why is this side displayed that this text label be in? It's because the search UI has a property known as face, which basically specifies which side of the part should all of these UI elements contain that search UI face. So right now, the face property is set to front. So all the GUI elements inside the search UI is facing on the front side of the part, which is in this direction. But if we want to change this to, let's say, the other side, if we click on the drop down, there's all these properties that tell us which side of the part we want the GUI elements to show. So we do back, which is basically the opposite front. So as you can see, it's on the front, but if we turn around, it's now displayed on the back rather than the front. And we basically do the same thing with all the other sides. So top will display over here. And you kind of have to be careful with changing sides because you're going to have to realign these parts unless you decide to use scales instead of offsets. And you know the difference is why scales is offset related. But let's change that to front to display over. There's another property that allows us to always see the elements inside the search UI using this property called always on top. Now, if you don't know what I'm trying to get here, if let's say decide to turn around on part, we no longer will be able to see the text label. If you turn around, then we see it. But if we're, let's say, somewhere else, like down here on the world, then we're not going to be able to see it. What we can do to make these elements visible no matter where we are inside the game is by setting this property called always on top. So if we check this off, then what's going to happen is that we can be anywhere inside the game and we'll still be able to see it. So I'm going to go down here, and through this floor, we can still see that text label that's displayed on that part. If we go behind the part, then we can still see the text label being shown through all these other parts that's displayed on that part there. The next property is max distance, which basically tells us how many studs it will take for us to not be able to see any of the GUI elements inside the search UI once we're at a specific amount of distance or always on part, we no longer will be able to see the text label anymore. If we turn around, then we see it. But if we're, let's say, somewhere else, like down here on the world, then we're not going to be able to see it. What we can do to make these elements visible no matter where we are inside the game is by setting this property called always on top. So if we check this off, then what's going to happen is that we can be anywhere inside the game and we'll still be able to see it. So I'm going to go down here, and through this floor, we can still see that text label that's displayed on that part. If you go back, like once the offset, and if you remember how the Z and X property works, it's basically in what order do you want to display these GUI elements is we are now over 50 slides away from the GUI element. So if we go back into view, then you should be able to see it again. So that's basically what happens is another property we have is the offset, and if you remember how the Z and X property works, it's basically in what order do you want to display these GUI elements posture onto the screen, or the same frame or folder or started. So it kind of works the same way here, except we're comparing two different, except this time we're going to be comparing search GUIs rather than any other elements that we've used in the past. So if let's say, so if I were to duplicate the search UI, and if I were to take this text label and change the background color to, let's say, green, then we should be able to see this green text label that's over our other text label in the search UI. So if let's say our first search UI, the one that has a white text label, if we make that the offset one, then we should be able to see that the white text label is now shown in front of this search UI with the green text label. So it kind of works the same way, but like I mentioned, this is now comparing search UIs rather than any other elements that we've past. So I hope you'll find useful as well if you're working with multiple search UIs. Search UIs also have some properties that basically determine how well we can see these GUI elements based on the game's layout. So before we do that, what we're going to do is delete this search UI that has green text label one way as well if you're working with multiple search UIs. Search UIs also have some properties that basically determine how well we can see these GUI based on the game's layout. So before we do that, what we're going to do is delete the search UI that has green text label and let's look at our search UI and we're going to disable always on top. The first property I want to introduce you is this property called light influence, and this basically tells us how much we want the game's layout to impact how well we can see the GUI elements that are placed inside the search UI. So by default, value is 1. So this basically tells us that this is completely impacted by the game's layout. So if we let's say move the search bar to a darker area, then we're going to have a hard time seeing search bar. So it's going to take part, move down into the world, and as you can see, now that the sun is not in our view, these GUI elements are a little hard to see. But if we decide to change light influence to 0, since this is a value 0 to 1, then it's not going to be impacted by the game's layout whatsoever. But there's something interesting that you may notice is that when we changed our light influence, it added this new property called brightness, which basically tells us how much light we want these GUIs to emit. Now that the part is not influenced by the game's layout. So if we set this to 1, then our brightness property is on. But if we set this to anything but 1, then it's going to show brightness property. So let's set this to 0, and let's change the brightness property to something bigger, like okay, like 4, which not gonna, that's very bright. So that's interesting to know when it comes to brightness and light influence. Now there's another thing that you should keep in mind is that remember how I said that we should turn off always on top. And the reason we do this is if we turn back on, then first of all the brightness property is on, and also the light influence now doesn't change anything at all when it comes to brightness and light influence. Now there's another thing that you should keep in mind is that remember how I said that we should turn off always on top. And the reason we do this is if we turn back on, then first of all the brightness property is on, and also the light influence now doesn't change anything because by default now the light influence is going to be 0 regardless of where we see it inside workspace. It's not influenced by the game's layout, and we can also see it wherever our screen is as long as we're in range. So that's one important to keep in mind when you're trying to change the light properties of these GUI elements is to make sure that always on top is turned off when you're trying to change light. So that's basically how the light properties work for these GUI elements. Before I introduce you to the next property, I'm going to add a text button to the search UI. So I'm going to plus sign insert a text button, and what I'm going to do is cover this button on the entire screen. So I'm going to make the scale 1 times 0 1 times 0 so that it's going to cover the entire front side of this part. I'm also going to make the text bigger by hitting scale so that you can see that. So now we have this button here. Here's what I'm going to introduce the next property called tool punch through distance. And it may sound like a really weird name, but it really does make sense once actually what it does. I'm also going to make the text bigger by hitting scale so that you can see that. So now we have this button here. Here's what I'm going to introduce the next property called tool punch through distance. And it may sound like a really weird name, but it really does make sense once actually what it does. Let's say I have a tool whip. We can still press the button regardless of where you have the tool whip or not. So I can see when I press the button, it'll still say down here that my mouse has clicked this button. And we can go as far as we want, and we'll still be able to press the button regardless of how tool whip or not. This is a really interesting, very specific property known as tool punch through distance, which basically tells us that with this number, which basically tells us how far do we want to be able to press this or interact with this GUI element, even have a tool whip or not. So in this case, with this text button, if let's say I had the studs as 10 rather than 0, then I will have to whip, and I should not be able to interact with the button unless I'm at a specific distance between the button and the character. So now I'm about 10 studs in range of this GUI element. I'm now able to interact with this button, but if I go out of range, then I will no longer be able to interact with this element. But if I whip, then I should be able to interact with the element regardless. So there's a property I think you will find use with this property if this situation like this comes during your watcher, and I hope that you will find use with this property. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce the two sizing modes that you can use when it comes to scaling your GUI element contained on the search UI. So we have our search UI selected. Let's go down here and check the sizing category, which are pixels per stud and sizing mode. So by default, Roblox is going to set the sizing mode of the search UI to pixels per stud, which basically gives us a pixel to stud ratio of how we want to scale our GUI elements that contain a search UI. So by default, 550. Now intuitively, what we want to do is increase the size of the pixels per stud. But the thing about doing this is if we choose to do this, it actually makes it smaller, which is actually very insane because you might think that it's bigger. You might think that it would make the scale of the text bigger, but actually it doesn't do that. It does it when you do the other way around, which will allow you to make it bigger theoretically if you make the pixels per stud smaller. And if you're using scales for your text button instead of offset, then you should be getting this result. Because I believe if you use offset, then it won't have the same effect if you change the pixels per stud using sizing mode. So that's basically how the first one works. But if we hit this drop down sizing mode, there's another property called fixed size. So if we press this, then it's going to give us two properties, an X and Y property, that allows us to change based on offset with the same if you change the pixels per stud using sizing mode. So that's basically how the first one works. But if we hit this drop down sizing mode, there's another property called fixed size. So we press this, then it's going to give us two properties, an x and y property, that allows us to change based on offset with the same size. So once again, with pixels per stud, the smaller the numbers are, the bigger the text will actually display on screen. So for the x property, we change it to 400 and then it would change the x value to be more y since we made the x. Since we made x value smaller. And do the same thing with the y value because 300 600, you can see it bigger on the y-axis. So if we made it even smaller, then it's going to continue scaling this however we so desire to see how big our result is. And if we change the size of the entire model, then it's going to scale it alongside with it, and also we should be able to see it being scaled. So it doesn't we change it to 400 600, and it would change the x value to be more y since we made the x bigger. So we made x value smaller. And do the same thing with y value because 300 600, you can see it bigger on the y-axis. So if we made it even smaller, then it's going to continue scaling this however we so desire to see how big our result is. And if we change the size of the entire model, then it's going to scale it alongside with it, and also we should be able to see it being scaled. So it doesn't matter which sizing mode you use, because both basically achieve the same result. It's just a matter of what computer you're using over the other one. And that's basically how both sizing mode work when it comes to scaling your GUI elements inside Surface GUI. Well, that being said, that's basically going to be the end of this episode with Surface GUIs. If you're interested to learn more about how we're going to scale the size of these GUI elements, whether that be on the parts or on our screen, I encourage you to watch my scale versus offset video. That's a part of this playlist from Yo, brother, that's a pretty cool name. That's a pretty cool. Okay, let's see how okay, I'm not sure what the kill. All right, let's see what we got. Yeah, nothing on the I did so good. He's literally left off the ground right now. He became ghost. Oh, okay, all right, well, I last hour see so what the hell is this? He had custom floor on top of his head. Yo, brother, that's a pretty cool name. That's a pretty cool. Okay, let's see how okay, I'm not sure what the kill. All right, let's see what we got. Yeah, nothing on the I did so good. He's literally left off the ground right now. He became ghost. Oh, okay, all right, last hour see so what the hell is this? He had custom floor on top of his head. So if I found this guy, he had a health bar above his head, but he had a GUI. So that's what we use to talk about. So search GUI. This is flips above. So what the hell last hour see so what the hell is this? He had custom floor on top of his head. So if I found this guy, he had a health bar above his head, but he had a GUI. So that's what we use to talk about. So search GUI. This is flips above some part or some instance in the game. That's essentially what a build GUI is. Detail about that later this episode. I just already did everything, so I hope that this changes. But like I said, let's go ahead and implement build GUIs inside Roblox here. Now we understand, let's implement build GUIs in Roblox here. So what we did with search GUIs, we basically added a GUI element. Slap on top of a part or instance inside the 3D world. So we're basically doing the same thing here with build GUI. Let's say we want to insert a part. So if the model, then insert a part that's here. And then when we do the search GUI, we're going to go to the right side of the board. We're going to hit the second part, and we're going to insert a billboard GUI. And there's going to be here until we start adding stuff inside the build GUI. So we're going to insert a text label. So right now we're seeing it, but if you zoom out, then you actually see that there is something being shown here, and that is the text label. So it's interesting because this doesn't work the same way as a search GUI, and how we basically slap onto one side of this part, and then we will see it, and now you'll see it if you're looking at a different side. But with this build GUI, we can view this no matter where we are inside the game, because our camera is constantly able to see this build GUI no matter where we're facing in the game. So that's the primary difference between a build GUI and a search GUI. Both allow you to view GUI elements within the 3D world, but depending on how you use them, they can view different ways. Okay, so there's something important that we need to know before we continue working with this build GUI, and that is scaling versus offsetting. So if you remember from my scale versus offsetting, I talked about the difference between the two, and why it's important when it comes to modifying GUI elements either within our screen or within the 3D world. So if you forgot the difference between the two, you can recap what that is scaling versus offsetting. So if you remember from my scale versus offsetting, I talked about the difference between the two and why it's important when it comes to modifying GUI elements either within our screen or within the 3D world. So if you forgot the difference between the two, you can recap what I could also suggest that you rewatch that video to really understand concepts before you continue watching this. Basically, we're playing Roblox game. You can play on any screen, you can play on the phone, you can play on tablet, or TV, or whatever it is. If you're scaling or positioning a GUI element either within our screen or within the 3D world, there's two ways to do that. The first way is using a scale, and the other way is using offset. And offset is basically a fixed number of pixels that determine the position or the size of a GUI element in the game. The issue with this is that if you have different screen resolutions, then this is not going to accommodate for what resolution you use. So if I had a offset of 200, then it's not going to look the same if I was on TV versus on phone. So that's why I highly recommend using scale, where the offset is scale changes the position size based on the screen resolution. And this is very important when using build GUIs, because I'm still recommending scale over offset. And that is basically the difference. If you were still something like that, once again, just go rewatch my scale versus offset video 14 minutes ago. Okay, so first, let's go ahead and make the size and position of build GUI. So here's our first example, because if we go down to the side part, it's using offsets, which is already called. What we want to do is use scales. The reason we want to do that is because you can see that if we're looking at this UI, right, and then you zoom out, it just kind of scales so awkwardly. The farther away I leave from the UI, it's going to continue to have this offset in a fixed pixel size when we walk away and come back to see that it's very result. The difference between that is once you scale. So I'm going to set the size of the offset to 0, and I'm going to change the scale to parameters. So I'm going to make the scale for the x value 5, and I'm going to make the scale for the y value of 2. So as you can see, we can now see that this build GUI is more fixated, but the text label is not. And that's because if we go to the text label, we can also see that the size is the offset. So in this case, because we want this to fill up the entire build GUI frame, we're just going to set the scale to 1 on both the x and the y axis, and we're also going to get rid of the offsets that are within the default. So now, if we zoom out, we can see that it's way better than before, because it scales differently, and it scales in the way we want to, versus what we had before with offsets. And we can use offsets if we want that. GUI text label, and you zoom out, just kind of scales so awkwardly. farther away I leave from the UI, we continue to have this offset in a fixed pixel size when we walk away, and then come back to see that it's very small. The difference is pretty massive once you scale. So I'm going to set the size of the offset to 0, and I'm going to change the scale to certain numbers. So I'm going to make the scale for the x value 5, and I'm going to make the scale for the y value of 2. So as you can see, we can now see that this builder GUI is more fixated, but the pixel is not, and that's because the pixel, you can also see that the size is the offset. So in this case, because we want this to fill up the entire billboard GUI frame, we just want to set the scale to 1 on both the x and the y axis, and we're also going to get rid of the offsets that are within that default. So now, if we zoom out, we can see that it's way better than the before, because it scales differently, and it scales in the way we want to, versus what we had before with offset. Now we can use offset if we want. I think there can be some instances where you use it, but generally I think this is all I recommend scaling users. So that's a quick rundown of using size for billboard GUI and billboard GUIs and everything for it. Okay, now there's three parts I want to use to do billboard GUIs. The first one is size offset, the second one is stub offset, and the third one is studs offset world space. So I'm going to go through these one by one. But basically, a size offset is kind of like a GUI anchor point, but instead it's attached to a physical part instead. Now you don't remember what an anchor point is. It's basically the starting point where each GUI element is located so that you can change position or its size according to that starting position. So in this case, a billboard GUI is usually within the part that's attached to it. So we're not in the direct center, so we want to move the size of the axis either. So with this size offset, it's 2 x and y. If we change the y value to 1, then you can see that it moves up from the origin point of the part. So we got to where it's here, and we change x value to 1, then so we move to the right side like this, and if we move around as offset equals 2 x and y. If we change the y equals 1, then we can see that it moved up from the origin point of the part. So we move to 0. And if we change the y equals 1, then it moves to the right side like this. And if we move around, we can still see that it's still one side up and one side to the right. We can now have size offset. We'll switch back to 0 to explain size offset. But this is basically a vector 3 value that takes an x, y, z. And this also determines the offset of the dy element from the origin, which is going to be the center of this part. Right here. Now the main difference between size offset is that this takes 3 values instead of 2. So this adds a layer of where we want to position this element based on our camera's view. So if we change the z value, which is inside, so it's not equal to as inside. We change this to 5, which is going to position like this. We can change the x value to, let's say, 5 again, and then y equals 5. So we can see that this allows us to further manipulate the size offset that size offset can't do. They both have very similar parameters, everything with size offset and size offset. So really get to know what is the special about these two and how you can use them to manipulate the size and position of the y element based on its determinant, which is also part of your. And finally, we have size offset world space. Now I'm not going to go too technical into this one. If you haven't seen my secret video, I go into more detail about the difference between relative versus global axes. It's kind of more into that. But what I want to tell you about this is there is a difference between the two. I want to show you. So let's say I was working this part, then the GY element is going to remain unchanged because the size offset is only manipulated based on our camera's view. But if we were to change the size offset world space, the GY element is going to be manipulated based on the things I want to show you. So let's say I was working this part, then the GY element is going to remain unchanged because the size offset is only manipulated based on our camera's view. But if we change the size offset world space, the GY element is going to be manipulated based on the world view rather than camera view. So if I were to change this to 0, 0, and change the world space offset to 5, 5, and then you can see that there is already a difference here, but it's visible on this way rather than this way. And if I were to rotate this part, then we can see that this GY element is being rotated alongside this part because this is being determined by the world space. Now, I don't know all this stuff, but if you're still searching for that, then you don't have to use this one. I just want to point out and show you the difference between these two properties. But now I'm going to show you that there's a property that can allow us to highlight a billboard GUI from a specific layer, and its property is called layer 2 from. This takes a object that will allow us to not show the GUI element specifically for that layer and show very much. Yes. Well, let's take first, so we can see here. Let's change the size offset to have one side. Its property is called layer 2 from. This takes a object that will allow us to not show the GUI element specifically for that layer and show very much. Well, let's take first, so we can see here. Let's change the size offset to have one side above the origin point, which is going to be the part. So let's maybe also notice that as you can see on the scaling, you can see that the text itself doesn't have awkward when it comes to scaling it, and not scaling is offset rather than scaling. That's why I would highly recommend going to the text going all the way down and selecting text scale, so that it will automatically scale as we move back or move forward from the text. So now we have this. Let's write a quick script so we can manipulate the player 2 height from property. So we can plus sign the GUI insert a script. We're just going to make a very quick save here, just by saying it has that wait for maybe about 5 seconds or so. And what we're going to do is say script.player 2 height from equals game.players.draw while we replace this with the name of your character. Just to show you that it doesn't work. Because I'm seeing now that's not seeable. And the way it works is if I go to the server, we can still see the label regardless of what I see around because we specifically hit the billboard GUI to get in from my character specifically. So that being said, I'm now going to show you how we can implement a custom color inside our game using billboard GUIs. So now we have this player 2 height from equals game.players. Here's draw while we replace this with the name of your character. Just to show you that it doesn't work as intended. Because I'm seeing now I should not be visible. And so the way this works is if I go to the server, we can still see the label regardless of what I see around because we specifically hit the billboard GUI to get in from my character specifically. So that being said, I'm now going to show you how we can implement a custom color inside our game using billboard GUIs. So the first thing I do is create a ring so we can see what's visible on my character. So I'm going to go to the part and we're going to click on regular. I'm going to block out first here. Let's just move this alongside here and now so what we're going to do is open our ring and we want to go to its head because that's where we want the rings help our GUI located on the head. But say offset to the top of the but let's add a billboard GUI inside of the ring's head like this. And what we're going to do is insert a frame inside this billboard GUI. Because what we want to do is have a frame that goes behind it that basically acts like a bar and over we're going to have actual bars so that we can see that it is pressing down. I'm taking out more color here. But basically what we're going to do is we're first going to change the size of our billboard GUI to not have offset, but instead we're going to scale. So we scale 5 and let's say the y axis I'm going to scale 2. That may look too big, so let's change to 1. That looks good. But let's change the size offset to move it slightly upwards. We're going to change the y value to 1 and you should now see it over here. But now what we want to do is go to the frame and set its size to 1, 0, 1, and 0. So that it fills up the entire frame that is here. What we're going to do now is basically change the background color to some dark color like this and then we're going to see the plus sign in the frame. We're going to add a text label like this. We're going to call this the meter. And we're going to change the size again to 1, 0, 1, 0 so it's the entire thing. And we're not going to have any text inside here. And also going to change the background color to see such a green so we can see the so next So great, we basically have a bar, but the thing we want is a visible text. Let's see how much health do we have exactly. So we're going to change here and we're going to duplicate this. And we're going to call this the label. We're going to set the background transparency to 1 so we don't see it. And then we're going to get a default text so we know that it works. We're just going to say 0 slash 0 thing. And we're not going to have any text inside here. And we're also going to change the background color to see such a green so we can see the so next So great, we basically have a bar, but the thing we want is a visible text. Let's see how much health do we have exactly. So we're just going to here and we're going to duplicate this. And we're going to call this the label. We're going to set the background transparency to 1 so we don't see it. And then we're going to get a default text so we know that it works. We're just going to say 0 slash 0. We're going to change the text scale and then we're going to make the color 1 so we can see that with green. Okay, so we basically have the layout of our bar. Now we want to create a script inside of our frame. So we're going to plus sign frame create script. Remember, this script is not local script. We're utilizing the 3D world and this is independent with the local layer. So let's do this. And we're actually renaming the billboard GUI to health bar like this. Okay, so let's first convert. We're going to say local frame equals script dot here, and then we're going to say local here equals frame dot here, and then local equals frame dot local. Okay, now because we're working with health, health is in the human, which is this right here. So we go down, we see over here we have the health party. We also have what's called a max health party. Basically, the difference between health is obviously the current health of the character, and max health is the maximum health that the character can possibly have. So health can never be bigger than the maximum health. It's always going to be the same as the max health or less than max health. So that's an important distinction to know when we're using health party within our script. So the first thing we're going to do is locate character and locate human because human has the health party by saying we should display on text. We need health in the max for child. We'll put human. The reason just in case everything is not yeah, here's how this works. So we have access to the human, and we need help to tell us how big our sheet and also what we should select on text. We need help and max help to determine these two things because that's those are going to be the How we do this is we set an event that basically updates this GUI bar every time the help changes. What we're going to do is say humanoid colon get property changed signal, and this is taken a string is going to be targeting. We're going to say help. We want to wrap the signal in a connection, wrap this function like this, and we're going to now we have this. We want to change the text label and also the bar size based on the new help. So this is how we're going to do. We're basically going to change the label's text equal to the new health versus the max health that the character has. So we're going to say like humanoid.health, and then because of this string, we're going to padding this with a table slash this, and we're going to be padding this again using the max health of humanoid. So we're going to say humanoid.max health. So again, the character's current health is going to be on the side, and max health is going to be on the other side. Now we need to change the size of the now this can be universe because what we need to understand is and this go down by x properties. If we're to change the x scale of the size, we need to do an equation that basically calls out a power health, and we want to divide this by the max health. In order to get us the scale that we need for the x property, let's say is 50. 100 that would give us 0.5, and x properties. If we change the 100, we change the scale to 0.5. That's going to be half of the bar. So we have power health, and we want to divide this to determine the size change of the bar. So basically, we're going to see this help bar to fit wording where we change the health of this regular. So let's do the humanoid.max health property, and the remaining parameters are just going to be 0, 1, and 0. That's basically what we change the size of here. So if we have those again, play, we should be able to see that this help bar should be working where we change the health of this regular. So let's go to the server side. Let's go to the server side. Let's change the health bar to 50. Let's change the health bar to 50. We change the text label to 50 over 100, and we also change the scale of the bar to fit the current health versus the max health. So 5, and so the bar is intended, and we basically know it's working. So 0, then this rate basically again. Now inside we have this bar off of our bar. The way we can change that is if we go back, go to our rate, and go to humanoid. We can change this part here that's health display. Display image. Let's change this to always off, so we only see our custom bar. Finally, if we want to update this bar to have it start off of our bar, the way we can change that is if we go back, go to our rate, and go to humanoid. We can change this part here that's health display. Let's change this to only off, so we only see our custom bar. And finally, if we want to update this bar to have start text and start scale before even changing the help bar, we basically just take what we had here and just paste it right here. So as soon as it runs, we're going to update the text inside of the mirror based on your help. So that's the last thing I want to include with this help bar. And it helps us help you understand more about the GUIs. After changing this, so again, if there were some concepts that were sort of confusing in the video, like scale versus offset thing, then I encourage you to watch my scale versus offset video that I have on clicks. Now, anytime we have this bar off of our bar, the way we can change that is if we go back, we basically just take what we had here. We change this part here that's health display. Display image. Let's change this to always off, so we only see our custom bar. And finally, if we want to update this bar to have start text and start scale before even changing the help bar, we basically just take what we had here and paste it right here. So as soon as it runs, we're going to update the text inside of the mirror based on your help. So that's the last thing I want to include with this help bar. And it helps us help you understand more about the GUIs. After changing this, so again, if there were some concepts that were sort of confusing in the video, like scale versus offset thing, then I encourage you to watch my scale versus offset video that I have on clicks. And I will put that video for you right here so you can watch. We'll get that. And I will see you in the next do we actually understand it? I assume we do because you're really watching a video right now and we understand the concept of videos. But I guess it's hard to talk about video frames. Roblox has a feature that they implemented, I think, 1 or 2 years ago, where they added videos onto the marketplace, and we can play these videos inside of our game. If we decide to play a video during a specific time or by specific patterns, then we can play a video, which is basically just a movie picture. So that's what we're right now. Now you might ask where we find these videos. We find these videos inside of Toolbox. So what we're going to do is go to review, and we're going to Toolbox, and then it should be on the left side with videos. This right here. So this one with videos. We can see that there's an entire catalog of videos that Roblox has. Now, there are limitations with videos as of this moment where we can't upload our own videos. These are videos that were submitted by a handful of people that Roblox has selected to upload videos. So there's a lot of videos. We can choose whichever one we want to click, but we can't just insert videos like this. We have to structure it in a way where we can basically attach this to parts so that we can see it as a billboard. So what we're going to do is go to model on the top left of the video. So this one with videos, we can see that there's an entire catalog of videos that Roblox has provided for us to use. Now, there are limitations with videos as of this moment where we can't upload our own videos. These are videos that were submitted by a handful of people that Roblox has selected to upload videos. So there's a lot of videos. We can choose whichever one we want to click, but we can't just insert videos like this. We have to structure it in a way where we can basically attach this to parts so that we can see it as a billboard. So what we're going to do is go to model on top left of the screen and we hit parts like this. And then let's rotate this scale up just a little bit like this. And we're also going to like this. And we're also renaming this to video part. So video part. And the way we basically show a video onto the 3 world is by placing this inside of a service GUI so that it's going to be facing one side of this part because it's not like a GUI we place on service GUI which is going to show on screen. I think we can do that, but we have to see it a little bit. But from the minute I know we can do this by implementing it inside of a service GUI onto the part. So what we're going to do is go on the right side, hit plus sign, insert a service GUI like this, and then we take one of these videos and put it inside the service GUI. So let's just pick whichever one seems interesting. Let's pick this one, Super Bomb Simulator Short. So let's look at this. And as you can see, if it had service GUI, then this video should be inserted inside the service GUI and it's now facing the front side of this part. But we can't play. The only way we can play it is if we go inside the game and type script that calls something on this video. So what we're going to do is let's first rename this video to, let's say, bomb video or something like that. Because we're going to go to the right side, we're going to go to this one, and in order to do this video, we're going to have to do a script. So let's insert a script like this. And the actual result, we're going to first return to our frame by saying global video frame equals script like this. And then we're going to say video frame colon play equals. So it's not playing audio with sound, we're basically play function to play video. And speaking of sound, most videos that are in actually do play sound as well alongside the video. And we'll show you what that's like a little bit. But there's another thing I do. So we can have these like, let's go down here and let's select loop. And we're going to do this because we play the video once and it's going to stop. So in order to continuously play it, we need to loop every single time that we reach the end of the video. So what we do is call play one time. And there's also other reviews here like playing resolution, time, like transition, video itself. And the videos do take in as and volume. But anything you know most of these are right. So what we're going to do is play like so. And once we're inside the game, we can see that the video is loaded and sound is also being played in the video too. And then once we end, it's going to loop back again to keep playing until stop. So that is the basic implementation of videos of video frames inside Roblox. Okay, so sometimes videos won't play as soon as we games. So what we need to do is basically make it to say that if the video is not loaded yet, then don't play. Otherwise, it'll error us. So what we need to do is after we declare the video frame, we're going to do 2 lines. So just before we actually start playing the video, we're going to do is say while video frame dot is loaded do, and we're going to say while not video frame dot is loaded because it hasn't loaded yet. What we're going to do is simply just do a task statement for a long while until it does actually start loading and play the video. A simple check we can do right before we do the video. Otherwise, sometimes the video has not loaded quick enough to be able to play. So that's the thing I want to add in here. If we were to play videos as soon as we do the game, we can do things to immediately play other than just playing, because you can also pause the video too at any point. So in this example, you probably just drop you like this, adding a task that was sitting for maybe about like 7 or 8 seconds, so you can take all the video to load and then play it when you do. So then we're going to drop last here, we're just going to say video frame colon pause like this, and then what you have is move the position of the video. It's going to be 1 second into the video already, which is the position put in, and then of the video. So you can also say video frame time position, so the part you can't change it, it's not really, so let's say about 1. So that's going to be 1 second into the video already, which is the position put in, and then we're going to finally say video frame colon play. So we can resume the video after we pause it. So now we go to the game, hit play. Then what you see in the video is it's going to play for a bit, it's going to play for some time, and then it's going to pause right there for 2 seconds, and it's going to go back not to the beginning of the video, but only a second into the video, then resume, and then once the video is done, it's going to restart from the beginning once again. So that's something you do in terms of videoing playback for a video. First, if it's something that you want to do, that's then something. Maybe those sound is come from the video itself in correlation to where I am inside the world. So if I'm far away, then I should less, but the closer I get to the video, the more I hear. The more I get here. This is the concept of 2D sound versus 3D sound. And I think I talked about this in my sound video, but just to recap first, when we have a GUI instance that ties with the 3D world, like 2D sound or also global sound, where it basically places sounds anywhere inside the world regardless of where you are. We're not going to be inside the 3D object like this GUI. We're simply going to put the video inside the workspace. So yeah, I'm just walking around, I'm zooming in, zooming out, nothing's changed to the volume of this video onto the workspace like this. And so we won't see the video, but if we hit play, then we should be able to hear the sound regardless of where we are. So that's what I want to show just in case you didn't see my sound. Like if I were to take this video apart, duplicate it and then move it where we are. Yeah, let's show some limitations that video frames currently have as of loading the video. So you might think, how many videos can we actually play at a time? Well, something that is just 2, unfortunately. But if I were to take this video apart, duplicate it and then move it right here, and I were to take the same video and duplicate it again, then what's going to happen is if we hit play and go into the game, it's going to be one second at most 2 videos simultaneously. So as you can see, the first 2 videos are played, but the third one is not being played unless we either pause one of these videos or we just stop it one of these entirely and then play this frame here. So that is an unfortunate limitation right now with these videos. It's only like 2 videos. Hey, what's that earlier? So it actually turns out we can make our own videos and upload them onto Roblox catalog. Now before I thought that Roblox was only giving this permission to a specific handful of people because there's only like 4 videos on the catalog. So you can make your videos, but there's a lot of requirements restrictions when it comes to videos, such as having a verified ID to show your user, having the rights to video recording, having the 30 seconds or less, so most seconds, making file size not anything bigger than 7 megabytes, having only, and having the video cost 2,000 Robux each time you upload it, which maybe that's not pretty absurd, but you have to keep in mind, video frames are a big feature as of right now for video. So I'm going to assume that this system is going to be heavily built upon to be better in the future, but I just want to point out, if in case you want to add your videos into your game, I'm going to link to this documentation in the description of the video. It shows how you can upload it, it shows how you can play it, and strip it without retrieving videos. So it's mostly just uploading the videos that you create and you want to put inside your game. So yeah, that's what I want to say here for the video. Alright, then after this video, I'm just going to create a very straightforward activation script where we press button and then the video should be playing on the screens when that does that. So what I'm going to do is first duplicate this part down here and then move to the left side. And for this video, I'm going to change this to a video. I'm probably going to use let's say this edit countdown right here. So I'm going to click on it and hit copy as ID, and I'm going to go down to this video frame with the video, do this, and paste like this, and then we should have a video like this. I'm going to turn off loops, and I'm also rename this to just simply video frame so that it's easier for us to use or to reference inside script. We're going to open up the video frame and go right to disable this script that's currently inside here. So what we're going to do is create a folder like this, and then we're going to insert a part. So we're going to then a part like this, we're going to take this and move it on here. I'll just want to change colors to let's say red, and then down here we're going to enter. Okay, so I'm going to move this part into the folder, and I'm also going to move the video part into the folder as well. Like this, we have 2 of these in the folder, and I'm going to insert a script inside this part. So we're going to enable sign this script like this, and we're going to part disable part script and then we're going to video frame like that. Okay, and to take this example, we're going to add a DDoS right here, make sure that we're .parents.video part, and we're going to reference to video frame as well. So video frame equals video part dot surface UI dot video frame like that. Okay, and to take this example, we're going to add a DDoS right here, make sure that we're only setting on one box. Little touch equals false, and then we're going to add a touch and then 2 hour record here. So we're going to say part touch next function open parentheses hit like this and enter. We're going to do first type touch first. So little humanoid equals hit dot parents colon find frame. So video frame colon play like this. So very self-explanatory. We're going to go into test play, and what we should see is our video not playing right below the video watching, but it's not playing. If we hit the button, what we should see is the video is indeed playing, and I can't just read this on. It's going to play once and then it's not going to start as soon as it's done. Once you have something special like let's say an event to indicate when the video ends, then we can set touch back to false and play the video. We don't do that too, and once you well, so the video frame has an event called end, and it's basically fire when you reach the end of the video. And if you reach the end of the video, that's when you do something else like set touch back equals false, so we hit play again once the video is over. And we're going to start this in a specific way. What we're going to do is say video frame dot end. So this is what the event is called, and we're going to simply say colon width. We're going to make it false, so we hit play again once the video is over. And we're going to start this in a specific way. What we're going to do is say video frame dot end. So this is what the event is called, and we're going to simply say colon width. We're going to make attention to using a function. We're simply just going to wait for this event fire when the video ends. And then after we're going to set touch equal to false, so we can press it again once it's over. So there's actually one thing we have to do on top of this. So when the video frame ends, we can't have it end at the very end and expect for it to start once again at the start. We have to do that ourselves, and we also have to ensure the video is paused before we get play again. Because we don't have this like stop the video, so the only ones we have to work with are the ones that allow us play it and ones that allow us pause. So we have to do both these things right when we finish the video. So what we're going to do down here is drop a line after the end of the segment. What we're going to do is say video frame colon pause colon parentheses, and then what we're going to do is say video frame dot time position equals 0. So what should happen is when we get the first time, we're going to set equal to the touch equals variable. We're going to play the video, and before we're going to finish, we're going to pause the video so that it's not for playing the video once we end the video. So then we're going to set time position 0 to start back at 0, and we're going to set touch equals so we can allow the touch part again. So let's hit play. Okay, I think what's happening is I'm supposed to put this after the touch variable. I'm pretty sure that goes. So we'll play again, and now what you should see is if we hit this one, then we should see that it is running as expected, and I can't do anything with it while playing right now. So once it does finish, then it should not play. But then again, then it's going to play again, and basically do the same thing once we finish it, and then play at 0, and we're going to set touch equals so we can I'll play the touch part again. So let's hit play. Okay, I think what's happening is then it should not play, but then again, then it's going to play again, and basically do the same thing once you finish it, and then play back one more time afterwards. So that is a little interactive example that I have with videos inside your watching. Of course, there are other possibilities you have with videos inside. So that's going to be a different tutorial on video frames. So like I said, oh, you were telling me this video, what I do? Wait, maybe you should die. Wait, you were telling me this on your friends. Oh, hold on, maybe you should. Oh, you were telling me this video, what I do? Wait, maybe you should die. Wait, you were telling me this on your friends. Oh, hold on, maybe you should die. You actually gave me an idea. And no, I'm not going to follow your request that you gave me, but it's in the way that you send that message and how there were certain texts in that message that were formatted differently than the rest. And that's actually something really interesting to know about when it comes to formatting messages inside your game. And I think that's what we're talking about inside the tutorial. It's going to be called rich text markup. Before we implement that studio, we should understand it first. And so we're going to do it. Alright, let's think about it for a minute. In the previous example, I showed you when we were saying what you just said with the message. There were certain parts of that message that were formatted in a different way compared to the rest of the string. And this is with the use of rich text markup. So in order to show you further about how this text label that simply says this is the message. But in order to show you this version of the same message, you can see here that the word message is in bold and it's also underlined, but the and this is with the use of rich text markup. So in order to show you further about how this text label that simply says this is the message. But in order to show you this version of the same message, you can see here that the word message is in bold and it's also underlined, but the rest of the string is not. And this is all contained within the same string. So we don't have a specific format for the entire string, but only for specific parts of the string. So this is very useful. We want to use the same string, but have certain parts of the string be in format for everything else. And if we're just going to now understanding how we exactly format these strings. And so the rest of this tutorial, that's what we're going to be doing inside of this video. So like I said, let's now go straight into it. After we understand, let's implement rich text markup inside Roblox Studio. So what I'm going to do is go to the right side of GUI plus sign and I'm going to insert a UI. Now inside here, I'm going to insert a text label. So let's take this text label, just scale it up just a little bit, move it towards the center like this. I'm going to go down and insert text label on the text. Now in order for me to help you understand the structure of rich text markup and how we incorporate this inside our text, I'm actually going to insert a little script inside text label plus sign, insert a little script, and so this. So I'm first going to do in reference to text label saying local text label script dot parents. And then what I'm going to do is say text label dot text equals. Now we make this text label where we want it. It could be the previous example we had, because this is a message like this. So this is a basic message we have here. And I also added overviews also this table here. This is how it's formatted. But you want to format a specific part of the string, like let's say this word message here. Then we need to use rich text markup to add tags to surround the part of the string that we want to format. And if it's something like this, we have a double tag over here on the side and a close tag on the right side, basically surrounding the part of the string we want to make a change to. And so rich text markup, the way that is formatted through tags. And the way tags are formatted is something like this. So we have a less than character and a greater than character. And then on the end of it we have a less than character and a greater than character again. But for the end character, we want to like we mentioned before, we want to make this part bold. So what we can do is simply say lowercase b for bold. And on the right side, we can also say b, and we can make sure that is on the right of the forward slash and not behind forward slash. And so this is basically how we create tags using regex markup to format a specific part of the string. So if we were to copy this and go to our game and we change text to this, we can still see that we're seeing the tags here, and that's because we need to enable this property called rich text. So if we enable this, then we can see that message is formatted as the way we want to using bold, but the rest of it is still as is normal. And you don't need to use script to format the property. You can just do this directly inside the text property as well. But I just like to read, so I read first before putting it into the property. But this is how you use rich text markup in basic format. We can add multiple tags to the same part of the message we want to format. And the way we do this is by simply adding more tags surrounding the specific message we want to change. So in order to insert another tag, we have another here and another close one here. Now the thing about this is if we add another tag to the same message, then we can put it on the side or the side. This is very quick. This is how we put it on the side. But what is important is to know the order of where you put the tags. Because let's say this tag is to make the message bold, and we add each of this and another you put here. We need to have a tag be on the outside of the entire message because that's where we have the starting tag for the line. So basically what I'm saying is if you have a tag that's close to the message, you need to have the end tag also close to the message, and you need to have the order match up like this. So you need to do the same thing for the underline here as well. This is the second closest tag to the message, so that's why the end tag is also the second closest tag to message and things like that. So now we can understand if we were to select this, bring it over back here, change text to this, then I can see now the message is underlined and bold at the same time. We add two tags rather than one, and you can do the same tags as well. We can add colors to specific parts of the string. So what I'm going to do to make this more simple is by getting rid of these tags that we have. And I need to understand how the structure of this tag is going to work. So I'm going to insert the plus and symbol, and add the forward slash end. So the way this is going to work is there's basically a group full of tags that we can use, and what we're talking about is there's a group called fonts, and it has multiple properties that we can change within that same group. We're going to do say font spacebar, and we're going to change specifically the color. So we're going to say color, and in order for us to change the color, we're going to put an equal sign. And this way we can change the color of the message. We can either use RGB value or we can use text value. Before saying this example, we're going to use RGB value. So we're simply going to say RGB, open close parentheses, and we're going to put our three RGB values. So let's say we want to make this part right. What we're going to do is give 285 right, comma 0 green, and comma 0 blue. One thing we need to do is surround this part with double quotes. So we need to put a double here, and we also need to put a double quote by the end of it as well, like this. And I might think that there's a whole different stuff here. There's actually an error velocity saying that there's unknowable RGB, and that's because we can't have double quotes within double quotes. So what we need to do is actually replace these double quotes on the outside with single quotes like this. So we have double quotes within this string. So now should we do where now don't forget on the end here we need to specify fonts with this. Now we're not going to say font color like that because font is the group and color is the property that we want to change specifically. So now if we were to copy this string and paste it into the text here, then we see that message is now formatted in red, but the rest is not. So that's basically how you add color to your text. We can also change more things with this font because it's a group that has multiple properties within the same tag. So what we try to change is the font of this specific part of the message here. And we're going to use what's called font family. Now often we can use with font family and font face. So this documentation shows what a font is, and it explains pretty well the difference between font and font color. But essentially this is a huge list of all the font families that you use inside of Roblox. Now if you understand what a font family is, it's basically a bunch of fonts that look similar to each other that is basically grouped into one font that is shared within the text that we use in our game. And also contains different weights as well. So weighting is text is bolded, it's semi-bolded, and things like that. So that's what weight is. But a font family it basically contains multiple fonts that are basically the same and grouped into one versus a font face, which is a very specific font you want to use. Like let's say Arial bold is a font face. That's a specific font you want to use. But Arial is the name of the font family altogether. And usually I recommend using the font family is much more simple way adding font inside your game. So what I'm going to do is select one of these fonts. Let's say Bang. So what I'm going to do is select this asset ID. I'm going to copy it. And now we're going to go back into Roblox so we can add this as our script. Alright, so I'm back to studio. And I mentioned that we have multiple properties being changed within the same tag which is font. So all we need to do is basically just write a space after we make one of these property changes and specify it. And now we're going to go back into Roblox so we can add this as our script. Alright, so I'm back to studio. And I mentioned that we have multiple properties being changed within the same tag which is font. So all we need to do is basically just write a space after we make one of these property changes and specify the next property. So what we're going to specify now is the family. We're going to say family equals double quotes and double quotes again. And we're simply what we copy from Roblox. And now we have is a change to the font color and a change to the font family. A simply separate game, select article, and let's now paste in the text. And as you can see, it is now red, and the text family is also changed to the banners instead of what we had before. So this is basically how we change the font color and also the font family of this specific part of the text. Another thing we can add to this is adding a text strokes to different color and how it fits into the actually see the stroke of each text. So what I'm going to do is script and I'm going to get rid of this font tag just so that it's not in the way of everything else we're trying to do right here. So what I'm going to do is add the open and close tag with this and the close tag with this with a full stop here. And now what I'm going to do is specify the stroke tag so we can stroke like this. And there's two things we're going to add. So the color is also going to be this. So we're going to say color equals don't forget the double quotes and we're going to specify an RGB value. So we can RGB value will say 0 to 5 and 0 to be fully green. And we're also change thickness so we see there. So we're going to get out of the color property and we're going to add thickness like this. Set this equal to notation and we put in inside here let's say 4 so we can see. It's very important that when we're having values inside the property we use quotations surrounding the values that the register knows that this is the value we're trying to change and not the property. Okay, also again here we also care about this after the forward slash we add in the tag name which is stroke. So now we can take this text once again and go inside our game here change text to this. So we now see the text stroke that is green and also has the equals 4 so very well. So that's how you add strokes inside of your text. Another thing is we have custom line breaks inside of our message. Now what I mean by line break is if let's say had a specific part of text that says this is and we want to continue the message but have it down here rather than have it go on this way then we use the line break to basically separate. So basically let us know that this is where we want to end and we want to move on to the next line down here to continue our message. The way we write that inside our script is if we go back inside here I'm going to get rid of stroke so that we can read this. So we get rid of stroke like this. Up to this point we had open and close tags but in this case for line break we actually don't need that. We just need one tag that represents the line break and we're going to do is simply say open close tag like this and we're going to put in a v part so this indicates break for line break and we're also going to say space forward slash. So this is the tag for a line break here and we're just formatting this because we only need one tag for this which is line break tag. We need to end by using forward slash. And so if we were to copy this message and put it inside our text then we can see that it went from this is and then just right there to continue onward down here with a message. Now I should be careful with the spacing because if we had spacing over here then it's going to start with a space and then a message. So what I should do is not space out and I would simply copy like this and then have it. So you can see it's now structured library because we got rid of space that was surrounding the line break tag. Now we have escape forms. Now basically what these are is these are specific characters we can add inside our message that won't interfere with the formatting of the message itself. So when we use the script and we want to have a less than symbol but we don't want to confuse with the actual formatting then we use what's called escape forms to represent the less than symbol or the greater than symbol for instance. We won't confuse with the formatting. So I'm going to show you examples of them but not all of them but just examples. So inside here I'm going to expand the message and every single escape form starts with an ampersand symbol and it ends with a semicolon. So for every single escape form we have it starts with the ampersand and ends with a semicolon and we put in whatever tag is inside of these two characters. And so for a less than character all we need to do is say LT because LT stands for less than and we do the same thing for a greater than symbol by specifying the ampersand semicolon and we say GT for greater than. And so if we were to select this and bring this inside our text here and we change this then we see that is now rendered as the less than and greater character rather than what we have here with the escape form format. And this is very useful. We don't want to mention a lot of characters. And so if we were to select this and bring this inside our text here and we change this then we see that is now rendered as the less than and greater character rather than what we have here with the escape form format. And this is very useful. We don't want to mention a lot of characters that we actually want to show but it interfere with the format. So this is things like quotes and apostrophes as well. So if we were to write the ampersand semicolon and inside here we say quote like this. And so we also have apostrophe then we do the same thing with ampersand semicolon and apos. Apos is short for apostrophe and quote T is short for quotation. If we select again with our game and then change the text we now see that we have double quotes here which is quotation and the apostrophe which is also known as a single quote as well. So this is the use of escape forms that we find useful inside of your text that you use that change. So for today's challenge I want you to recreate this panel on the right side of the screen. With text and here, but you don't have to think about functional anti-functional. But what I want you to practice is using rich text markup to format these strings to be the way they are. Now you don't have to match perfectly because there are some things here that you may not know about, like this structure of text, or you might not know which font you use for some of these texts. But I definitely want you to get into the habit of using rich text markup to make these changes. Like demo is bolded, underlined, and different fonts. These three options here is bolded and different font. These texts here are in different color and have stroke, and then these ones they're in different font and have colors and things like that. So I want you to replicate this sensibility, and that's what your challenge for today. If you want to learn more about learning to make a text without link to that where you write here to watch this video, and that's what we did for today's video. I mean, okay, I know you're not here now, but I did not steal the last cookie from Cookie Jar last night. You have to believe me on this, bro. Wait, what are you saying? Yeah, okay, so we're going to do it on the sense. Why don't I just open the stage so that you can come out and we can shake hands? Like, how does that sound? Does that sound fair to you? Okay, so I'm gonna open the door. So I'm gonna open the jail cell. So I'm doing this, and then we'll come out. We'll see the okay? So I'm gonna open the door, just like so. And oh, Newbert. What's your favorite something you just can't back out, can't you? Oh my goodness. Today's video is about basically these interactive pop-ups that you see inside the game. And you've probably seen in many Roblox games in the past where you press certain key or certain button to interact with whatever you're trying to interact with the game. And you also call this press ET to interact with Roblox provides us. And I'm teaching you how to implement inside of the video. So that means that's how I'm going to show you. Now we understand that proximity prompts inside Roblox Studio. So there's a couple things you need to know about proximity prompts before we're able to like see that inside our game. The first thing we're going to do is insert the parts so that we can attach our proximity prompt to the part because we can't just have proximity prompt on its own. It needs to be attached to the part or leave most of the objects in the game. But we're going to insert parts. I'm going to do model and we're going to part. Now this part is going to scale this up just like so. And what I'm going to do is rename this part to proximity parts just like this. And then we have the proximity part and then insert a proximity prompt which should look like this. So now we have proximity prompt. There's a few properties that we need to understand here when we're looking at this proximity font once we interact with it. Now, if I was just going to test, then we're able to part, you can see our basic proximity here. So by default, use the E key, and there's no object text, but there is an action text that is attractive. So if I see, then it goes interact with it, it doesn't do anything. I'm going to add function to it. But before we do that, I'm going to hit stop, and I'm going to show you something we can do to change the proximity font. So first is the keyword key code, and the second one is the game key code. So you see, the need considered keyword code that you press in order to activate this proximity font. By default, it's E. So we select a bunch of different keys we can use rather than E. But just by default, it's E. And then the second thing is the game key code. So we click on Xbox 44. Then this is what is going to replace for the game key code instead. Next is the object text and action text. Both these are two different things, and we understand the different things here. So object text is basically the part or object that the proximity font is currently in, or trying to interact with. So we can think of object text as what is it that we're interacting with. And then we have action text here, which is basically the action that we're taking with this object that we're here. So you gotta be like what action you're gonna take, or you'll just see what you want the player to do once you activate this part. So for the object text, we're gonna do is call this proximity part, and then for the action text, you just say click, and then we go to test and play. Then what we should see is we walk up to it, and it's going to first say the object text, which is going to be the proximity part, and then what's in white text, what we're gonna do is call this proximity part, and then for the action text, you just say click, and then we go to test and play. Then we should see is we walk up to it, and it's going to first say the object text, which is going to be the proximity part, and then what's in white is going to be the action text right here, and the left side is going to show our key, and we have to press and interact with the key. So now we customize our proximity font a little bit, but if you try to interact with it, it's still not going to work because this is something we need to script ourselves. So that's basically some key access to proximity fonts I want to show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our proximity part, I'm going to plus sign, I'm going to insert a script. So with this script, I'm going to do proximity font by saying global proximity prompt equals script.proximity font and the two events proximity font use. The first one is going to be called proximity prompt dot trigger calling connect function equals enter. Now what this event does is it basically activates when we interact with the proximity font by pressing E. So there's one argument attached here, which is the player who triggers this proximity font. So that happens in the player, and what we do just as a simple example is print the player's name. So when we interact with the proximity font, go to the play, and the object proximity font text, then we should see what is the name of the player who interacted with, in this case is the Rob. Now there's something to do with the proximity font, and that is adding a hold duration to it, so that we don't just press the key and then it automatically triggers. So that's the use hold duration down here, which is in seconds. So we have this for like 2 seconds. Then it's going to add a hold duration before it actually triggers the proximity font. So now we go to the game and try this out ourselves. So we can't press anymore, but instead we have to hold it for 2 seconds before it triggers it once down here by pressing all. So that's what I want to add there. Just one more functionality. Another thing we can do is add a hold down functionality to proximity font. So basically hold down the proximity font, and after your time we let go, then it goes stop executing the proximity font. And we're going to do this by using another event called trigger. And so I just say proximity prompt dot trigger ended. So basically hold down the proximity font, and after your time we let go, then it goes stop executing the proximity font. And we're going to do this by using another event called trigger. And so I just say proximity prompt dot trigger ended. So that's going to connect function equals and we're passing the player again. So what we do is say player has let go of the proximity prompt like this. And to go inside the game and hit play, then what we should see happening is if we activate the proximity font for 2 seconds, and then we can use the side. Yes, we can. And dot trigger calling connect function equals and pass the player. Oh, you could also just refer to the player since this is able to now, but we should pass in the player argument here. So and just a little example, we're going to do is I'm going to add a remote event inside our case source. Send it to the server so that the player who triggered this proximity font will get a whole 3 seconds, just like you can. So what I'm going to do is hit plus sign and insert a remote event like this. And I'm going to say take damage like that, and I'm going to look inside our case source. So I'm going to say global take damage equals game.remote case source when people try to take damage like this, and I'm going to say take damage by server like that, and I'm going to insert a script inside the server service. I'm going to take damage like that, and I'm going to look inside our case source. So I'm going to say global take damage equals game.remote case source when people try to take damage like this, and I'm going to say take damage by server like that, and I'm going to insert a script inside the server service. I'm going to go to the script and copy our take damage and paste it in here. And I'm going to say table take damage equals game.remote case source when people try to take damage this, and I'm going to say take damage by server and I'm going to insert a script inside the server service. I'm going to go to the script and copy our take damage and paste it in here. And I'm going to say take damage dot on server event connect function equals players like this. And I'm going to basically just say player dot character dot humanoid dot health minus equals 10 just like this. Just as an example, basically what it's going to do is every time we activate proximity font on the mobile side, then it's basically going to get rid of 10 AP from our character every time we interact with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the hold duration. It's going to be 0 and then we go to play. So once we interact with this proximity font, I hit once, and if I go to the client or server, then it's going to say that my character hold was reduced by 10. So if I press it twice and I go to server, then it's going to reduce it by 10 every time. So I'm going to expand this, and then I can see how it feels to do this. And if I keep going, then I'm basing it. So that's a little functionality for mobile side scripting for proximity font useful, not just for the system, but basically you could also do this on server side. Also, maybe like restricted digital side or server side. Just another preference, but there are some things that are really useful to do on client side. Because seems how we have a lot of proximity fonts where it just doesn't show up when you try interacting with it in the game. And one of the most examples is if we let's say had parts that was too wide like this, and we had a proximity font that's located within this part. So if I go to the game play and walk through trying to interact with it, then it's not going to show up because it's located in the center of the part that we're trying to interact with, rather than being anywhere inside of this part. And so this is a component that we have when it comes to using proximity fonts in the game. There's actually a solution to this by being able to select which area of a part that you have the proximity font in for more accurate interaction with the party you're trying to interact with. And that is the use of attachments, which I haven't talked about much yet, but I'm going to show you the basics of it in this video so you can use the word proximity fonts. So I'm just going to stop here. Attachment is just simply a point that is contained within a part. So here's what attachment looks like. If we were to go to the proximity font plus sign and we insert a attachment like this. So once we insert this attachment selected, then we see this little green bar here with 2 axes going on the expression and one a point that is contained within a part. So here's what attachment looks like. If we go to the proximity font plus sign and we insert a attachment like this. So once we insert this attachment selected, then we see this little green bar here with 2 axes going on the expression and one going on the direction. Now this is basically where we're going to put our proximity font so we can have a more accurate location for where we want to interact with the proximity font. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to home and I'm going to select the move tool and I'm going to move the attachment this way so that we can have it over here. And let's actually then I'll probably have it somewhere that's over let's say here. This is basically where we're going to have our proximity font. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our proximity font to the floor and I'm going to drag it inside the attachment like this. And what I'm now going to do is re-enable our script here. That's our proximity font. And I'm going to relocate our proximity font. So it's going to insert up here attachment like this and then it's going to be the proximity font just like so. So now we go attachment play, then we should see inside the part that proximity font now over here is contained in the attachment where we specify in this part. So this is very useful. You want to specify a specific location of where you use the proximity font rather than just have it be in the center of the part that's actually by default. So if we now drag this, then it's going to turn out my name on when I show on screen or or you want that is basically use attachments to solve this problem that allows you to face the proximity font. So Roblox has another property for us to use the proximity fonts and that is called exclusivity, which basically tells us like how many proximity fonts you want to show on screen or for want to show one proxy function one at a time, just so we don't have a bunch of proxy functions at the same time within the same instance. That's what XCC does, right? I'm actually between all three things here, which is first by default called one button. But just to make things simple, I just want to take the attachment and I'm going to duplicate it and move it this way like this. And also take it one time and move outwards like this. So now we have three attachments with three proxy functions. So I'll just select all of them. And if I click on the drop down, I'm going to first show you always show, which I think is the most self-explanatory one. So we hit play, then what we should see is basically all of the proxy functions showing at the exact same time, as long as I'm within the range for this proxy function, which we can specify with the max application instance we set. So all of them show at the exact same time, but the way we can change the exclusivity of these proxy functions. So if we hit stop, and I'm going to show you yellow. So the next one is called one globally, which basically only shows one proxy function at a time. If we were to go inside here, then basically only going to show one proxy function and not going to show all of them at the same time. So that's what one globally means. But now the last one, this one is a little tricky. This one is called one per button, which basically means that it's going to exclusively show a proxy function if two proxy functions or more have the same exact key that contain it. So what I'm now is for all these, all of them use the E key to activate. But if I had this third attachment, let's say this one right here, we can change the key to something different, like let's say R. And now the play, then what we should see is basically a proxy function here that says the key, but also it shows the R key as well, but it's not showing both of the E proxy functions because we said one per button. I hope this makes sense here, where it's like if you have one button, it's only going to show proxy functions of having one proxy function per button, we want to be R and the E. But if this was, let's say, one globally, then it doesn't matter what key it is, because it's still going to show one proxy function. So that's basically how exclusivity works. Works out that becomes useful. So this is our video. I'm going to quickly address the difference between a proxy function and a click detector. Now, a click detector is basically Roblox's old way of being able to interact with objects inside of the game. So if I were to show you a list of these are a click detector inside of the proxy function and click play. So if I hit play, then what you should see is this icon change inside our mouse, where it shows that we're able to click on start. Now, this is the only functionality that this click detector does. It allows us to click this object that's contained in the game, and that's basically all it does. So it's pretty simple and primitive compared to what we have now with proxy functions. So you can use click detector if you want, but proxy functions kind of supersede the functionality of click detectors, and you don't need click detectors anymore. But there can be some use cases of what we would use click detectors for proxy functions. So that's kind of a local solution I give with click detectors. Now we want to use click detector functional. I can quickly add a script, and I'm going to say script.parent, and the only one that's useful is dot mouse click connect function. Both of these and pass in the player click on just like we do with proxy functions. Then you print out player click on the part, and if we were to go gameplay, then what you see is if we click on part and say click on part, and that brings us one thing is the max application. This is how proxy functions works. Like how far away does it take for us to actually click on this part, or exactly the end of that? So that's basically the difference between proxy functions and click detectors. It has a map purpose when you decide to use your Roblox game. So that's basically it. So, and hope you enjoyed this tutorial on proxy functions. So if you want to learn more about what my Roblox UI choice series, I'm Roblox. Oh, I know you're happy right now, but I did not steal much of my build UI tutorial. I have free. Well, like I said, what my Roblox UI choice series, I'm Roblox, and this episode will be discussing about UI layouts with things like list layouts, grid layouts, page layouts, and things like that. So I want you to imagine that we're creating an inventory system. And what my Roblox UI choice series, I'm Roblox, and this episode will be discussing about UI layouts with things like list layouts, grid layouts, page layouts, and things like that. So I want you to imagine that we're creating an inventory system, and we want to be able to display all the items in our inventory to show on one single frame. And the way that we do that is to display each and every one of them onto the frame so that they have page layouts and things like that. So I want you to imagine that we're creating an inventory system, and we want to be able to display all the items in our inventory to show on one single frame. And the way that we do that is to display each and every one of them onto the frame so that they have their own space within the frame. And to show you an example of what we're talking about, what we're going to do is with the serve UI, click sign, and we're going to insert 3D UI. Next, I'm going to do insert a frame inside of the screen UI. I'm going to scale up like this and move it into center stuff. And inside the frame, I'm going to insert a text button. So with the text button, I'm going to do something like green. And typically, the way we would display items within the frame is we would just take the item and we would duplicate it and move it inside Studio just like this, so that we have multiple items that are displayed. But there's a problem with doing like this. For one thing, we need to manually calculate where the exact position would be for each item, so the items are not misplaced just like this. But another thing is we also would be able to do this while the game's running as well, because this is something we can only do while we're inside Studio. So how do we fix this? We can use what are called UI layouts to basically do it for us. And I'm going to show you examples of this. The first thing I'm going to show you is called a UI grid layout. So what I'm going to do is delete all these buttons except one. And inside the frame, we're going to hit the plus sign and we're going to insert a UI grid layout like this. So we enter. And what's going to happen is we're going to have this button here. And if we duplicate this button, what's going to happen is Roblox is automatically going to place the same button as the first one. And if we keep doing this, then Roblox is going to continuously add more buttons in this row by column structure. So we start from the top left and just keep going right until it reaches the other side of the page. So then it continues down here and the process just repeats itself. And there are a lot of ways that we can customize this as well using our grid layouts. So inside our grid layout, we can do is change things like padding. So how much space is in between each item. So we can change the scale to say 0.1 and 0.1. So listen to this. We can change things like where we want the direction to be filled. So by default, for example, so inside our regular layout, we can do is change things like padding. So how much space is in between each item. So we can change the scale to say 0.1 and 0.1. So listen to this. We can change things like where we want the direction to be filled. So by default, for example, we can change the super so that it starts upward and it goes down and it just keeps going like this. We can do things like saying where it starts. So to the top left, using the top right, where it goes from right to left instead of right, and I think we get from here. So those are the things we can change with the UI layout. But rather than just using grid layouts, we can use things like list layouts. So I'm going to create a folder quickly so we can place the UI layout inside there. And inside our frame, we're going to do is insert a UI list layout just like this. So now the buttons are displayed as a list, and you can change things like the padding. So this is going to be the scale, which is let's say 0.05. So now there's a little bit of space in between each button. Now you notice that these buttons can appear off the frame layout just like this. So now the buttons are displayed as a list, and you can change things like the padding. So this is going to be the scale, which is let's say 0.05. So now there's a little bit of space in between each button. Now you notice that these buttons can appear off the frame just like this if you have so many buttons inside the frame. And one thing we can do is set a property called lapse. So what it does is it goes off frame. Then it's going to continue on the right side and go down the list just like normal. So this is how change. There are other things like the direction sensor, go vertically, horizontally, I go left to right, so that. And you can change things like the way things are aligned as well. So we have things like horizontal alignment, so from the left to the center, or even right side, we can change things like horizontal flex, which basically says how we want each of the items to be separated from each other, and what side we want to separate. So we do things like fill, so that it fills up the buttons all the way before it moves on to go down. We can do things like changing the horizontal flex, which basically says how we want each of the items to be separated from each other, and what side we want to separate. So we do things like fill, so that it fills up the buttons all the way before it moves on to go down. We can do things like space around, space between, space between, and just mess around all these things. There's a lot of things we can work here. And we're going to do things with vertical alignment as well. And those are things that we can do to make our items be displayed onto the frame. And finally, one thing I want to show is called a UI page layout. We'll do this UI layout of the folder, and inside the frame, plus sign and insert a UI page layout. And basically what a UI page layout is it's a layout that basically displays items onto a frame, but it's only separated by an individual page, so not an individual frame within a frame. So what I mean is, I want to imagine this is like an iPhone or like a mobile device where you can swipe right to then move on to the next page, around page 2, and you can swipe right to page 3, and page 4, and so on and so forth. It basically takes all the items, in this case all these buttons, and separates them as their own page. Imagine this is like an iPhone or like a mobile device where you can swipe right to then move on to the next page, around page 2, and you can swipe right to page 3, and page 4, and so on and so forth. It basically takes all the items, in this case all these buttons, and separates them as their own pages, and you can flip between the pages. So basically what that is. And because it's pretty cool stuff, this is right to then move on to the next page, around page 2, onto finally one thing I want to show is called a UI page layout. I'm going to do this UI layout of the folder. And inside the frame, plus sign and insert a UI page layout. And basically what UI page layout is it's a layout that basically displays items onto a frame, but it's only separated by an individual page, so not an individual frame within a frame. So what I mean is, I want to imagine this is like an iPhone or like a mobile device where you can swipe right to then move on to the next page, around page 2, and you can swipe right to page 3, and page 4, and so on and so forth. It basically takes all the items, in this case all these buttons, and separates them as their own pages, and you can flip between pages. So basically what that is. And we can do some pretty cool stuff as well. We're going to show you a little bit. We can do things like change the way that the swiping is animated, each direction, each style. We can change things like the padding in between each page as well. And we can also change things like the way that is animated as well. And from here, what we can do is show you how we can combine UI page layouts and UI grid layouts together on screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert another frame here. I'm going to change the color difference to be like I don't know, sort of blue. And I'm going to change the size to 1010 just like this. And I'm going to take a bunch of these buttons and put it inside the frame just like this. And I'm actually going to delete the rest of these buttons as well. And outside this frame, what I'm going to do is insert a UI grid layout just like this. So now what we have here is a frame that contains these text buttons that have a grid layout that displays like this. And with this page layout is used for each one of these frames. So if you take this frame, then what's going to happen is there's going to be a second page that's going to be for these buttons, while this first page has these buttons for the third page. So just as before, we can change the padding a little bit so we say 0.5. So it really feels like we're swiping through a on screen. So to display this even further outward, I'm going to use like 0.5. So we swipe right, then it's going to swipe the page for the page. So just as before, we can change the padding a little bit so we say 0.5. So it really feels like we're swiping through a on screen. So to display this even further outward, I'm going to use like 0.5 so we see it all. So swipe right, then it's going to swipe the page to go to the next page. And there's some methods in Roblox documentation that allows us to move to the next page or to the page or to a specific page we want. But this is basically how we use UI page layout in combination with UI layout, and you can do the same thing with UI layout as well. There are more layouts that you can use for your UI building application description. But I hope this gives you a good introduction to using UI layouts inside your game. And I'll go to. So for today's one, I want you to recreate this animator to utilize different types of frames and different types of UI layouts as well. So from what you saw here, this is the first page that contains all these different frames and layouts, and you can flip through different pages that can lead to completely different frames. So I want you to go recreate this, and once you think that you've achieved a similar frame system, then I think I'm ready to tackle on more complicated GUI systems, because a lot of them definitely utilize UI layouts. And if you understand how to implement them inside your UI, then I think you'll definitely have a better time implementing more complicated stuff. I would also like to give a shout out to my members. I really appreciate their support because encouraging me to continue to do this for you guys, and if you need access to scripts or access to videos, and other things like that. Now, we'll link my information in the description for you to check out. Have a better time. And once you've typed well, right, then you have to swipe the page to go to the next page. And there's some that is and finally, one thing I'm going to show is called a UI page layout. I'm going to use this UI folder, and it has a framework to insert a UI page layout. And basically what UI page layout is a type of layout that basically displays items onto a frame, but it's only separated by an individual page, so kind of like an individual frame within a frame. So again, it's much as like an iPhone or like a mobile device where you can swipe right to then move on to the next page, around page 2, and then swipe right to page 3, and then page 4, and so on and so forth. It basically takes all the items, in this case all these buttons, and separates them as their own pages. This is like an iPhone or like a mobile device where you can swipe right to then move on to the next page, around page 2. And then swipe right to page 3, and then page 4, and so on and so forth. It basically takes all the items, in this case all these buttons, and separates them as their own pages, and you can flip between pages. So basically what that is. And we can some pretty cool styles as well. We're going to show you just a little bit. We do things like change the way that the page that contains all these different frame handouts, and you can flip through different pages that can lead you to completely different loading frames. So I want you to go through this, and once you think that you've achieved a similar in their frames, then I think they're ready to tackle on more complicated GUI systems, because a lot of them definitely utilize UI and if you understand how to implement inside your UI, then I think you'll definitely have a better time implementing more complicated stuff. I also like to shout out to numbers. I really appreciate their support because encouraging me to continue to do these for you guys, and if you want to add some scripts, reacts to videos, and other things like that, then I'll link my page in the description for you to check out. So that's actually it for today's video on UI layouts. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Welcome back to Roblox UI tutorial series. I'm Paul, and in this episode we'll be discussing about appearance modifiers. Now, what do I mean by appearance modifiers? So basically, Roblox has these objects inside of Roblox Studio that allows us to enhance the customization of how our GUI objects look inside the game. So things like adding a gradient effect to the background of a certain text label or frame, same thing with applying the stroke to a certain text label word. We can set around corners and we do all sorts of things. So in this episode, I'm going to show you a few of the objects we use to enhance our GUI elements. So first thing I'm going to do is right side insert GUI, hit plus sign and insert extrude GUI. For this demonstration, I'm going to insert a text label inside extrude GUI. I'm going to move this to the center, scale this up a little bit, and make sure that it aligns perfectly just like this. Okay, so the first object I'm going to show you is pretty easy one, and this one is called UI corner. So I insert a UI corner, text label UI corner. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the edges of this text label rounded, hence the name UI corner. And we can change a certain property called corner radius, which basically tells us how rounded we want the edge to be. So I'm going to reset offset to 0, and I'm going to change the scale to something like 0.2. So as you can see, the corners are now more noticeable and how rounded it is. And I believe the highest scale we can go is 0.5, which looks something like this. Because if we go and cast out 0.6, then the thing is going to be different. But this is basically we add round corners to a UI object. And the next I'm going to show you is called a UI stroke. So I'm going to plus sign on the text label, insert a UI stroke just like this. Now the thing about this is, as you can see, the stroke is being applied to the text label, but instead we want to apply the stroke to the word itself. What we do is change this property called apply stroke mode. Instead of being textual, which we're going to do right here, there's another option here called board. So click on this. Then what we do is instead of adding a stroke to the text, it's going to add a stroke to the board. We can make some noticeable by changing the thickness to 65. And there's also this property called line and join mode, which basically tells us how we want the round corners to look. And by default it's round. So we change something better, just like this. We change to this is mirror like this. But for round set to round. And basically what we can also do is add padding to our text as well. So we can plus sign and insert a UI padding just like this. Then the first time this object is let's say we want to leave space here so that we can fit other elements up here without having our text label away. Then we can add a padding object. But if you're going to do that as well, so we can plus sign and insert a UI padding just like this. Then the first time this object is perfectly close to this. But for round set to 5, and there's also property called apply stroke. So I'm going to plus sign on the text label, insert a UI stroke just like this. Now the thing about this is, as you can see, the stroke is being applied to the text label, but instead we want to apply the stroke to the word itself. What we can do is change this property called apply stroke mode. Instead of being textual, which we're going to do right here, there's another option here called board. So click on this. Then what we do is instead of adding a stroke to the text, it's going to add a stroke to the word. So we want to leave space here so that we can fit other. And that's basically what stroke is. What we can also do is add padding to our text as well. So we can plus sign and insert a UI padding just like this. Then the first time this object is let's say we want to leave space here so that we can fit other elements up here without having our text label away. Then we can add a padding object. But if you're going to do, I'm just going to show you how we use this. So down here we have 4 objects here with behavior. So we can have padding on every side of the GUI object. Every one there's a scale and offset. But for example, for I'm going to be changing scale. So let's say we want to change padding top to a certain scale. Let's say we want to use 0.2. Then what it's going to do is with the text label, it's going to add the text downward. So it's going to leave a little bit of space here, which is going to push the text label down just like this. And we change 0.5, and it's going to apply even more padding to push the 0 down. And we do the same thing with padding left. So we change this to say 0.5 as well. Then what we're going to do is add extra padding over here to the rear, which is going to push the text label to the right, or it's not the edge color. And if you click on this and press the here, object is. And now what I'm going to show you is how you can apply a gradient of timeline that looks like this, where we have a keyframe at the object label, we're going to plus sign, we're going to insert a UI gradient keyframes and color. And we change the color to where we want, like red. And what we're going to do is this timeline is going to match the color of this UI element that's placed here. And we do the same thing as we change this to 0.5, so it's right in the middle. We change this color to, let's say, something different, like a dark orange, just like this. And now we have a gradient that looks something that can be rotated in a certain way. We can change transparency as well. If we don't want this on the interior side of the part, that's basically what we do UI gradients. So those are some objects that we can use to change the appearance gradient and all those sorts of things. But as an added challenge, I want you to make this helper functional as well using script. So if I were to, let's say, in my help to be, then what we're going to do is it's going to update the text and also the helper itself to reflect on how much help I have. But the important thing here is being able to use the modifiers to make this helper nice. You don't have to focus on certain part, just add challenge on that. But that's basically what we're going to do for this episode. But what I'm going to do is stop, and I'm going to give you a little time to attempt making this helper UI before actually using script. So I'm just going to make this a little time trying this out yourself. So what I'm going to do now is open up helper UI, and I'm going to show you a little script inside here to basically show that this is the script used to update the helper that reflects on the player's current health. So we have a function here that updates the health text to current. That's basically what this does. And if you have access to videos and other things like that, then I'll leave a link to my page in the description for you to check out. I appreciate your support very much. So that's basically it for this episode on appearance modifiers. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Welcome back to our Roblox UI tutorial series. I'm Paul, and in this episode we'll be discussing about UI constraints and size modifiers. So when we're working with GUI elements inside our Roblox games, we've had to maintain the size of these UI elements to be able to look at inside our Roblox games. Regardless of how big our smaller screen is, whether we're playing on phone or whether we're playing on TV, it doesn't matter. But that's not enough. What if we want to have more inputs to make sure that we can maintain size modifiers to be able to scale our objects as we want them to, or to automatically rescale them, or even add size constraints to make sure that GUI elements use our GUI, and I'm going to insert 3 GUI, and I'm going to insert a frame and move it to the center. It scales it proportionally, so that is called a UI scale. So we can plus sign on the frame and insert a UI scale. And this only has one property called scale. Now the basic idea behind UI scale is that it takes the GUI element and all its descendants and it scales it proportionally so that it maintains the size while also scaling it upward or downward. So if our scale of let's say from 1 to 2, then what we're going to do is it's going to double the size of the UI element. And if we're going to do it for 3, then it's going to do that. We need to do it the opposite way by reducing the size of it in half. And what we can do with this actually is change the interpoints to 5.5 and move to the center just like this. So that when we change the UI scale, it's going to change the scale from the center of the frame rather than the top corner. So this is what we need here with UI scale. And one of the things I can see with what we can do with this also scaling it upward or downward. So if our scale of let's say from 1 to 2, then what we're going to do is it's going to double the size of the UI element. And if we're going to do it for 3, then it's going to do that. We need to do it the opposite way by reducing the size of it in half. And what we can do with this actually is change the interpoints to 5.5 and move to the center just like this. So that when we change the UI scale, it's going to change the scale from the center of the frame rather than the top corner. So this is what we need here with UI scale. And one use I can see with this is you use pointers to smoothly animate the size of a frame with the sense. And that's really the use case of using it. And that's what I'm going to show you called a UI size constraint. So what I'm going to do is with this UI scale, and I'm going to plus on and insert a text. You use pointers to smoothly animate the size of a frame with the sense. And that's really the use case of using it. And that's what I'm going to show you called a UI size constraint. So what I'm going to do is with this UI scale, and I'm going to plus sign and insert a text label. So as you see the text label, it's currently bigger than the actual frame itself, so it's clicking outside of this UI element. But what if we want a way to automatically resize the frame to make it so that it fits with all the UI elements that are inside it? We can do that by using a property called automatic size, and by default it's set to none. But if we drop down, then we have 3 options here to choose which axis we want to set the size for. So what we can do is select X. So I can see the frame's size automatically adjusts to fit the size of the text label. And if I let's say insert a grid layout, and let's say we want to change our color, if I were to duplicate all these text labels, then as you can see, the frame is automatically adjusting size to reflect these text labels. But as of right now I have it set to X only, so we're set to X and Y. Then as you can see, the frame is now adjusting size to reflect on all these text labels, which I have a great feature. So now 2 more instances I'll show you called UI size constraint and UI text size constraint. So I'm going to take the frame and make adjust it to fit the size of the text label inside it. We can do that by using a property called automatic size, and by default it's set to none. But if we drop down, then we have 3 options here to choose which axis we want to set the size for. So we can do select X. So I can see the frame's size automatic. As of right now, I have set to x equal to insert a text label and move to center. So the first object is a UI size constraint. Basically, what it does is we determine the maximum size and the minimum size of a UI element so that it doesn't become too big or too small. So if our representation size is something like 100 and 100 y as well, then it can't be any bigger than 100 pixels and 100 pixels on the x and y direction. So for example, if your representation size of this to 500 and 500 to the frame and made invisible, and I'm going to insert a text label and move to center. So the first object is a UI size constraint. Basically, what it does is we determine the maximum size and the minimum size of a UI element so that it doesn't become too big or too small. So if our representation size is something like 100 and 100 y as well, then it can't be any bigger than 100 pixels and 100 pixels on the x and y direction. So for example, if your representation size of this to 500 and 500, then it's not going to get any bigger than 100 pixels we initially set. So if your representation is 50 instead, then it actually is going to be small because it does fit within the range of our max size and min size. So that's what UI size constraint does. And the next one I want to show is called a UI text size constraint. So a UI text size constraint is basically the same as a UI size constraint, except instead of for a GUI element, it's for a text within a text label. So I'm going to change the size of this to 250, and for this text size, we have a max text size and a min text size. So if our change, let's say 40, and our change to size 30, then we can only fit the text within the bounds of these two properties here. So if our two, let's say, go down here and turn on text scale, then what's going to happen is if I scale this, the text label is not going to change size because it has 40. But if we were to scale down, then it's going to go down 30, but then it's not going to go anything lower than 30. So that's what a UI text size constraint does. And I'm going to use cases for using this. Okay, now the last object I want, the text label is not going to change size because it has 40. But if we were to scale down, then it's going to go down 30, but then it's not going to go anything lower than 30. So that's what a UI text constraint does. And I'm going to use some cases for using this. Okay, now the last object I want to show you is called a UI aspect ratio constraint. And basically what it does is it maintains a width to height aspect ratio of a GUI object regardless of the size of that element. So this is really useful if let's say we have a image label and we don't want to stretch out the image label to make it look really weird and not proportional. We can use a aspect ratio constraint to maintain the size of it to make it look good. So if I were to show you an example of this, I'm going to quickly disable the text label. I'm going to insert a image label to this, and we take it from the toolbox. So I'm going to view the toolbox, and I'm going to pick a random decal from here. So I'm going to right click, copy as ID, and then change the image of this to our image. So by default, we can scale the size of this to make it look stretched out like this if we want. But if we want to maintain this aspect ratio, then what we can do is hit the plus sign and go to insert a UI aspect ratio to this. And now if we were to change the scale of this, we can see that it's locked to the diagonal because we now add a aspect ratio constraint to it, so we can't stretch out or make it non-proportional. We only have it in this width to height aspect ratio when we're using GUI elements. Now this is a really good use case of using this. So we can show some examples of using these size constraint modifiers, and it helps us to a couple of things to be introduced with these size constraint modifiers that you can use for your own Roblox. So for example, I want you to recreate this panel on the left side here. So we have things like bar and a coins counter on the bottom of it, and we'll have image labels to show the health and also the currency. So once you have this down, what I want you to do is I want you to use the objects I taught you to maintain an aspect ratio. For this panel to make sure that when we size it, so if we are to rescale this frame, then it's going to maintain the size of the bar and also the image labels on the left bars as well. And that's the important thing about this is it's able to maintain the size of these UI elements that are contained within the frame using things like aspect ratios, text size constraints, UI scales, and things like that. So what happens if I were to get rid of these size constraints? So if I get rid of these, and if I were to now rescale the frame, you can see that the image labels are being stretched out to make it look unnatural, and we don't have a way to maintain the aspect ratio or the text size of these elements. So that's what I want you to try and do with and as an added challenge, if you manage to do this, I want you to use UI scale to have this toggle button so we're being stretched out to make it look unnatural, and things like aspect ratios, this will have an image label to show the health and also use with these size constraint modifiers that you can use for your own Roblox games. So for example, I want you to recreate this panel on the left side here. So we have things like bar and a coins counter on the bottom of it, and we'll have an image label to show the health and also the currency. So once you have this down, what I want you to do is I want you to use the objects I taught you to maintain an aspect ratio for this panel to make sure that when we size it, so if we are to rescale this frame, then it's going to maintain the size of the bar and also the image labels on the left bars as well. And that's the important thing about this. It's able to maintain the size of these UI elements that are contained within this frame using things I taught you, things like aspect ratios, text size constraints, UI scales, and things like that. So what happens if I were to get rid of these size constraints? So if I get rid of these, and if I were to now rescale the frame, you can see that the image labels are being stretched out to make it look unnatural, and we don't have a way to maintain the aspect ratio or the text size of the elements. So that's what I want you to try and do with this. And as an added challenge, if you manage to do this, I want you to use UI scale to have this toggle button. So when you press it, then it's going to use pointers to basically hide it, and if you click again, it's going to pull back the panel just like this. So that is what I want you to do for today's objective. And if you have something like this, then I can go back to becoming a Roblox developer by being able to maintain your aspect ratios for your UI elements. So that's what I'm going to do. So big shout out to my hey, thanks for coming by. This is going to start a new series. Welcome back to Roblox UI tutorial series. And in this episode, we'll be discussing these are viewports, a very unique type of frame. Roblox has displaced 3D objects on a 3D screen. This allows you to create things like shops, villages, mini assets, and many. And so I'm going to show you how to create these viewport frames and use them for your own Roblox. So that means let's get straight to the video. I don't understand it. Let's implement viewport frames inside sets. These are viewports, a very unique type of frame. Roblox has displaced 3D objects on a 3D screen. This allows you to create things like shops, villages, mini assets, and many. And so I'm going to show you how to create these viewport frames and use them for your own Roblox. So that means let's get straight to the video. I don't understand it. Let's implement viewport frames inside Roblox Studio. So this is what we do at start with GUI. So we're going to go to the right side, inside start GUI, the plus sign, we're going to insert a 3D GUI. Now inside here, we're going to insert a viewport frame just like this. I'm going to scale up just a little bit, move over here. I'm going to go down to properties and change the size properties to offset to scale to offset. I'm going to say 0, 0, 0, 2, and then 0 to this, and then we're going to rescale over time and move 2 corners like this. Alright, so right now, this looks like a standard frame, but the really cool about viewport frames is that we can take 3D objects and render them inside a 3D space. And the way we can do that, I'm going to show you an example of the way we do that is let's go to model and we're going to create part. And this part, the way we render objects inside the viewport frame is to directly put these models inside the viewport frame itself. So I'm going to take this part and drag it inside the viewport frame. And now as you can see, part is being rendered inside the viewport frame rather than our in-game workspace as you see here. Now you might be thinking that this is actually kind of a weird decision for this part to be in, but I don't know that. It looks like that because Roblox is using multiple part and drag inside the viewport frame. And now as you can see, part is being example of the way we do that is let's go to model and we're going to create part. And this part, the way we render objects inside the viewport frame is to directly put these models inside the viewport frame itself. So I'm going to take this part and drag it inside the viewport frame. And now as you can see, the part is being rendered inside the viewport frame rather than our in-game workspace as you see here. Now you might be thinking that this is actually kind of a weird decision for this part to be in, but I don't know that. Looks like that because Roblox is using a fixated camera that's set in the original game, and we can't exactly change the camera unless we create our own camera or change it to a camera. And we can do that through a specific property. So go to the viewport frame. There should be a property here called current camera. And we can actually change the camera using the camera. Let's say we were to select this and change this to our studio camera. Then what it's going to do is it's going to replicate the studio camera inside the viewport frame. So if you move around inside the world, then the viewport frame camera is also going to mimic what the studio camera looks like, which is actually cool. But the thing that's cool about this is it doesn't have to work in the game. So if we go ahead and test it, then what we should see is that the studio frame is no longer updated with the in-game camera. In fact, because there's a difference between the studio camera and the in-game camera. So we play the game, Roblox is actually creating a copy of the studio camera and putting it inside the viewport frame without updating it. It's not using the studio camera. This is our in-game camera. So there are some tricks in how we're using viewport frames, but this is essentially what a viewport frame is. We use some cool stuff with the part inside the viewport frame. So what we're going to do is we'll assign the viewport frame. We're going to insert a little script, and what we're going to do for that script is make that part inside the viewport frame going to constantly around. And what we're going to do for that script is first make our own custom camera we can instead we're going to lines that makes the parts around them see that actually doing. So first we're going to say little viewport frame equals script and then we're going to say little part equals viewport frame dot part. So now we're going to create our own viewport camera. So we're going to say little viewport cam equals instance new camera. And then what we're going to do is set the origin of the viewport camera. So we're going to say viewport cam dot c frame equals c frame dot new 0 0 0. But we can change this to another later because right now this is the standard c frame value for a certain viewport. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the viewport frame's current camera to this camera that we just created. So we're going to say viewport frame dot current camera equals viewport cam. So this creates a new viewport camera specifically viewport frame we can now so we're going to do. But right now what we're going to do is say while true do, we're going to pass that way, and above here we're going to make the part spin around constant. So we're going to say part c frame times equals the part c frame with c frame dot angles, and let's get spin around on the y axis. So we're going to say 0, and we're going to use the reason let's say math dot rad, so we're going to put the range, and we're going to 1 degree here. And this is 0 to 0. So now we go to the game and hit test and hit play. Then what you should see is the viewport frame is you can now see that the parts is fit, but it's still kind of like out of reach. You can't really see that well. And that's because we can now take our viewport camera and modify where the position of the camera is. So let's say modify. So what this viewport going to do is we can now see that it's a little further away. I think I actually want to do it a little closer. So wherever you want to screen, we'll say negative. Then I usually see the difference with this viewport here. So I can see the part is now closer to the camera, and now modify our viewport camera to change where its position inside the viewport frame to basically showcase the parts inside your model. And how that's starting to is it possible to render a model inside the viewport frame? And the answer is yes, you actually can render a model inside the viewport frame. And one of the examples that showcases is through our own character displayed inside the viewport frame. So what we're going to do is go to test and hit play. And what we're going to do is copy our character from the workspace. So no workspace, then go to our character, right click, copy, and then we're going to stop. And then inside the workspace, we're going to right click, and it pastes into this. And now what we're going to do with our character is drag it into the viewport frame so that it's going to be rendered just like this. But in order for us to have a clear view of our character when we're inside the game, so we want to look like this. And the way we can achieve this specific angle of the camera is having to create our own camera to the position of the game. So what we're going to do is inside the viewport frame, we're going to plus sign, and we're going to create our own camera just so we can see what it looks like inside studio. So we can use our script to replicate the same camera position. So for our new camera position, I'm going to set 200, and the orientation I'm also going to set 200. And then what I'm going to do is go to the viewport frame. I'm going to go down to current camera and select our new camera we created. So this, what I'm going to do is try to make our character in view of the camera. So for our character, I'm going to set the origin position to 0, 0. So now we look a little off right now, so we do readjust the values to make it in view. So we're going to go to the camera, and I'm going to set the sequence position to 0, 0, 5. And this is our character now looking away. So what we can do is set the orientation of our character to let's say 180 degrees. Now we can see our character inside frame. Now in order to see the actual game, we need to modify our script to replicate the same exact camera, but instead create inside script. So what we're going to do is go to the script, and we're going to change the position of the viewport camera to 0, 0, and we're going to put here at 0, 0, 5 like that. So now we go to the game to test and play. And what we should see is our character is perfectly in the viewport frame as we want to, and this is how you render a model inside the viewport frame. But let's do that. There are some other people who do this. Like we can animate our character inside the viewport frame rather than having our character stand still just like this. Now traditionally what we do is start at the top. We would typically let's say run animation for our character, and we'll see it inside of the viewport frame. But the problem is viewport frames don't actually apply physics to any models that are inside of the viewport frame. Because if this was the case, then our character should have an animation here, but it's simply doesn't. It can't play physics or anything animation. So a solution to this would be to wrap our models inside what are called world models. And actually what it looks like. So inside our viewport frame, we're going to plus sign, and we're going to insert a world model like this. And anything that we add inside here is going to allow physics to be able for any object inside. So I'm going to drag our character inside the world model, and now we can hit play. What we should see is our character now has its animation line, and we want to do all the things with it we can now do because we put our character inside a world model. So that's what our world model is. And now let's try and get a cool animation with this. So let's stop. And what I'm going to do is let's say we want to make a script that plays a dance animation for the character just for that. I'm going to try to run animation play. So I'm just going to click on animate, and there should be a bunch of animations here. So I'm going to pick dance and click on the animation. If you don't see such, it's probably because you imported an R6 character rather than a character. But we can use animation. It really matters. So I'm going to pick animation one from the dance animation. So I'm going to take this, copy it, and I'm going to create a new script inside our character. So I'm going to insert a little script, and I'm going to take the animation inside here, and I'm going to rename this to dance script like this. Okay, now what we're going to do first look at the animation. So I'm just going to rename this to animation. So I'm going to say little animation equals script animation, and I'm going to say little animator equals script parent colon wait for child human. And we want to look at the animator of the human. So we're going to say child animator like this. And then we want to load the animation. We're going to say little loaded animation equals animator colon loaded animation, and we want to load the animation. And then we're going to do is say loaded animation colon play colon just like that. And this is how we're going to be playing dance animation as we do the game. So now we're basically on that. So we can type, then we should see is our character should be playing little dance animation here. It's a pretty cool thing to do with viewport frames. You can add backgrounds if you want to. You can change some properties which I'm going to show you right here. So we go to our viewport frame. We have a bunch of things we have an animate settings, so there's our light we have a light color if we want to change that property as well. We have a direction, and some other properties we use to make it look better for what we're trying to accomplish here. And helps us understand how you can apply viewport frames to your game through writing these. One thing I like to add is we can use viewport frames and apply them to a search UI inside the game. That's pretty cool. Now you can recap what search UIs are. So let's say I have here and scale like this. I want to apply a GUI screen onto a specific side of this part like this one. We need to add a viewport frame to the surface of the 3 object like this, which is really cool. I'm going to show you how to do it. So what I'm going to do is instead of screen UI, I'm going to insert a surface UI, and then within the surface UI, I'm going to set this boning property to this part right here, just like that. And now what we're going to do is take this viewport frame, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it inside here. And now you can see that this viewport frame is a part of this wall here. So if we go to the game and test it, and what you should see is the exact same result of my character's dancing like this. It's kind of feeling. I mean, this is something really cool viewport frame. And I figured that would show you. Here's how to use inside your games. So what we have so far, we're creating something interesting with this viewport frame. So what I have here is a system where if I were to hover over this viewport frame with my mouse, then what it's going to do is it's going to rotate the character around the viewport frame, kind of like a display showcase thing. And basically how it works is when I initially hover over, it's going to zoom the character in, and then it's going to constantly rotate the character around until I hover my mouse out of it. And since it's a lot inside shot systems where you want to display like a model of some sort, then we can have it if you hover over, then it's going to showcase the viewport. So you can see here, and that's really cool to make. And that's what we're animating with viewport frames so far. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is go to our world script, and we probably don't need this code for the parts anymore.